I do my work.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're live.
Whoa. Now that is how you kick off a festival evening. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Cody Coyote.
Cody
Guys,
Coyote.
shout out to all of our matriarchs out there, all of our elders. I got my oldest matriarch, my Auntie Mary here. Want to say hi, Auntie?
Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour.
Bonjour. Fuck that. How did he was like, oh, I can't say much. The
In the
government.
background this whole time is that my mom needed to be here. I was very aware within the first couple of days that I was not going to have the emotional capacity to interview Auntie and then be her safe person.
Yeah.
And because my mom was going to interact with Auntie, she was COVID tested.
Okay.
My mom's an elder herself, so she's been under the same kind of precautions, not allowed to see anyone. This is her first outing.
Oh, wow.
She drove all night to get here.
The big thing.
Oh, my goodness. You made it, my girl. Oh, I know what it feels like. I used to travel and everyone used to worry, make sure that I got there safe. Wow. Oh, yeah. After she walked away, I'm laying there thinking, having all these things going through my mind. Then I can hear somebody crying, but it's all dark, you can't see. I'm turning around like this in the bed. Somebody's crying over there, somebody's crying over here. And then I finally fell asleep. I think it must have been breaking daylight. Clang. My blanket just, get up, get on your knees right now. Looking around, everybody's on their knees, so I got on my knees. It was a long prayer. Girls that were around me like that were kind of signaling to me to listen, just to hurry up and get dressed. Otherwise, they're going to either punish you or they'll strap you. Everything was low-key because you could never get caught asking girls questions. So I'll watch the girls and see how they do things, and that was a big help. When it was time to eat, this great big burly teacher would come over, and when that bell rings, you get in line with the girls and you get into the refectory and eat. But it isn't proper food, not even for a pig. So I told her that. And I said, I want my mother. And she said, well, your mother's not coming for you. Your mother abandoned you. The minute she came for me, I took my foot and started kicking her.
Oh, good for you. Fuck that bitch.
And soon there were a couple more teachers that came to help her. But that was the time I started rebelling. But it didn't do me any good.
Yeah.
They finally said, cut her hair. They put me up on a chair, and she just took these great big shears and she started cutting my hair. And I could never forgive them. That is such a big spiritual part of us, is our hair. And all the girls were
You got like fucking
watching.
not even half an inch off my hair, and I cried for 3 days.
Subdued and figured my mother's never going to find me now. She's never going to find me because I look just like the rest of them.
And really, that's what residential school was, to destroy you, cause you to be nobody and to have no identity.
And especially when she did that, I became like, you're my enemy from now on.
Mm-hmm.
And did she strap you? Did she physically abuse you?
Oh yeah, different times that I was there. And I would figure I would take my stance. And she wanted me to cry, and I wouldn't cry.
Good for you. At 7 years old. Like, how the fuck?
And Chief said he was going out to work on the boat.
For water drainage, right?
And so we're like, okay, great. Plus, being outside right now is actually a lot safer than being inside someone else's space. So any opportunity to be outside with my crew with lots of dynamic space was important.
That's the cooling system for the engine. People like Mary have been able to share different thoughts on different things that really are integral to our survival as a people. She is well respected. She's been through a lot with her residential school experience when they removed our people and tried to take the Indian out of the child. And she hung on. And I've stood with her many times in those places where it wasn't easy to defend who we are. So I really cherish the things that the elders tell me. Like this place here that we're at today, this is a really sacred place where the sturgeons gather. It's a place where the sturgeons live. And sturgeons, they're as old as we are. And we as Anishinaabe, we have the job of looking after the earth. And all of our relatives, as I look around here, the water, the fish, the trees, the plants, the birds, all of those animals on land.
That's good.
The sturgeon, Neme, has even more of a responsibility to look after the land under the water. So they do the same thing as us, but they do it under the water. And this was the area that we promised to look after to the Creator. And through it all, even in the face of the oppression, we still have elders that have been able to maintain and even enhance those original understandings. And one of those is Mary. Mary has always went that extra mile to defend our inheritance.
Cool.
And our inheritance is all of this.
Yeah. I would fucking
The first Sunday
start
of every
occupying
month,
places
for
like
2 hours.
shit, man.
they would select
Fucking,
a
you're not
table
gonna
for
give it
me
back, take it
and my
back.
brother. Sonny didn't come at
Fucking
first for
giving
the
around.
longest time.
Fucking bullshit
Jimmy
lies.
My brother Jimmy
Fucking
was older
reconciliation.
than
Fucking
I was.
bullshit.
And Jim was there 2 years prior to when we entered school. And he had already been so abused that we submitted to their ways. So he didn't have a lot of conversation with me. And then finally he just stopped coming. We had to go to communion every week at the boys' church. And he was altar boy. And I can smell that, smell liquor or wine or something. And he was almost shaking like that, giving. I didn't think too much of it then about the liquor or anything. But then I started hearing it from the girls that the priest was getting the boys drunk on wine. I didn't know he was being abused that way. And some of the girls too, because they used to get the older girls at times to go and clean up over at the church in the boys' school. And the priest used to do the same thing to the girls. And then when the girls got pregnant and kicked out of school, everything fell silent. Everything fell silent because this girl's missing.
Oh, you guys started molesting little boys because they don't get knocked up?
Oh, yes.
No fucking evidence?
Yes. And there were babies found in those walls.
Oh, fuck.
Why were there babies in the wall?
Please.
Wow, it would have been scandalous
No.
for the school. Had anyone found out about it?
Oh, fuck. This fucking so sick.
So we just got back from meeting the chief and interviewing him. And we got back here to her house and Auntie has gone. Her van is gone. She's not here. And we're supposed to be doing interviews with her. And this is absolutely typical Auntie style. She does whatever she wants. Whatever she wants.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And so was supposed to come with us to the place of the sturgeons. And then she was not feeling well enough.
Oh.
I don't even know. And I don't really. It actually made me really nervous about the rest of the shoot. Like, if she's already too tired for us, what does this mean? You know, and I'm not going to risk my auntie's health.
Yeah.
What I'm interested in right now is how do we tell the stories of our elders in a way that is slow enough?
Yeah.
How do I push to hear all of the 84
Without
years of
re-traumatizing.
knowledge that my auntie holds. But oh my goodness, look who's rolling down in the road. So what you can see is that my Auntie Mary's van is pulling in, my uncle's pulling in with a charger.
Yeah.
What? Hi, River. Come give me a hug.
Her name is River. As well.
Auntie loves her grandchildren, and she's always trying to get me to hang out with them every time she's here. So River was there. Good to see you. You remember me? Mm-hmm. Him and I have a special connection. We always have. So Auntie wanted flower gardens, and I had brought up these planters. So I let him do the planting, and we did that for her.
Oh,
Which one? You
look at
choose.
those precious stones.
Which side? The van that my auntie drives is a van that I drove to Standing Rock. Well, it was my mom's van, and then it was my van for about 4 years, and now she has it, and she can use it to take off whenever she wants in good fashion. I think when somebody takes you away, takes you from your home, tells you you can't be who you are, you can't speak your language, have your hair,
What does that
see
sound
your
like?
parents.
God, it could compare it to what's happening now,
I think
right?
that when that happens to you, you don't let anyone tell you what to do ever again.
Language bill,
But that's how my family reacted.
fucking Bill 21, fucking banning face coverings or religious symbols, quote unquote,
Part
but
of
let's
that
call it what it
residential
is. It's
school
fucking a
story is
Muslim
when
ban, straight
I
up.
used to go home for
'Cause
summer
No one's
vacation.
wearing crucifixes on their
We had a
fucking
family
heads.
Before grad school, I remember that. We had birthdays, we had a lot of things. We had the gatherings at Christmas time. And then each year I was in that school, it got less until I was out of the picture. I was born in Garden River. Then we moved into Sault Ste. Marie. And I remember so many happy memories there. My mom worked every day, but
Mm-hmm.
weekends we went everywhere. She'd take us down to the park. She used to take us up to the movie theater, and every chance she had, she would treat us. And in wintertime, we'd go sliding on that big hill. We had a big dog, and that dog used to follow us all over the place. Just happy times. It was just like a family. I don't ever remember being sad, threatened in any way when I lived at home before I went to school. My mom was very loving to us.
Did you ever feel that? Abandoned by her?
No, I loved my mom very, very, very much. Almost to the point where I idolized my mom. She was a good mom. Very good.
When we talk about the story, I think about her and how
Yeah.
terrible it was for her
Yep.
to have to leave you, and how she couldn't find a way to say goodbye to you.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about your children for no fucking reason. Like,
In our way, we sit with our elders while they live. We take the time to hear their stories and honor who they are. There's a world of women like her, elders who have carried life. They beat our moccasins and make us tea. We need to take the time to hear them and to remember the stories they can share while they're here. Stand with them, or at the very least, just sit with them for a few minutes every day. Are you going to share something with us?
Yes. When I first walked this way, I was on a rough journey. I asked Creator to show me the way to help me. So I finally made it to the Indian Friendship Center in Toronto, where I met the elders. And they immediately took me under their wing. They spoke about the culture. And the more the teachings that they gave me, the more I felt this is what I've been searching for. It all connected. And this is how I got to be an elder. And it was meant to be because I belonged to the Sturgeon clan. I didn't know all the gifts that Sturgeon had waiting for me. But with all these gifts, I'm trying to live up to that image. No, I think maybe it was around Thanksgiving. We were all playing out in the backyard, and I seen a group of girls. One of the girls that kind of signaled over to me. I could tell that there was something going on. One of them finally said to me, "Hey, Mary, would you be interested in what we're going to do?" Well, we're planning on running away. So I'm kind of thinking, getting suspicious. Why are they asking me? These are not like my special friends. It started to fester in my mind. Well, I only have 1 year left because I'll be 16 and I'm going to be leaving. The pressure won't be as hard on me because I'm liable to expose a lot of stuff. And I was trying to resolve it in a positive way, that even if I get caught, I'm thinking, I can handle it. Yeah, I want to run away. When are you going to do this? And they said, when we go for a walk tomorrow. When I went to bed that night, I'm thinking about it. So it's heavy on my mind. So the next day, sure enough, we get up early in the morning again and did our duties, our chores, and then by noon hour after lunch, she would ring this bell. It was time to go for our walk. We took different little paths just so we wouldn't be noticed that we're together. But we had a waiting spot out on the highway. As I'm going along the way, I'm pretending I'm picking up things off the ground and going further and further out to the highway.
Oh, God.
Girls were already there, and we said, well, we can't stay on the highway because it's going to look too obvious. So let's go on the railroad tracks.
Oh, no.
Every time we'd see a car, we'd hide in the ditch. We thought we had walked a long way from Spanish. And when we got to Massey, OPP cars came, about 3 of them.
Bullshit.
And we're just standing there like sitting ducks. They knew right away we were the runaways. The cop came out, he said, the school reported that you ran away and we have to take you back.
Why?
And the girls just started to cry. They were afraid of the consequences. Well, I was too. And I said, please don't take me back there. And he said, because you're underage, I have to take you back.
No.
By the time we got back to the school, it was dark. About 5-6 teachers came out, and they were all happy and greeting the police and smiling. And they're all safe. That officer kept on looking at me, and I think just my facial expressions, just like this cop know that this was phony. And then the cops left, and once that door closed behind it, it was like hell on earth.
Oh, God. You stop saying that. Holy
Here's
fuck.
your beloved Uncle Sonny.
Oh, look, Jimmy Bell.
Yes.
Oh, let me see.
Look at how cute he was.
Your
And
dad.
that's when he first attended school, I think, in
Wow.
1944. Yes.
That's so interesting to see, you know.
I know. I was just all choked up when I first seen those pictures.
When did you first see these guys? Recently?
No, when the program came in for the Healing Foundation, and they started sending away for the pictures and getting as much information from the students, and yeah.
This article is
You did something. I don't know what it was for.
the Globe and Mail, and this article is what inspired this documentary.
Oh, really?
Aw. She's petting her with the.
Good Chinty.
Come on.
My auntie outlived all of her brothers and sisters. And what's in between those pages is her guilt for being the one who survived.
Oh.
And she says it over and over again, is that the reason they didn't is because they just weren't strong enough.
Oh.
And that's not about just strength. What she's saying is that it was almost impossible to not
Yeah.
be broken.
That's exactly what it is.
They made us go
Systemic.
up to this classroom, they sealed it off, and they said, for you running away, you're not going to have anything to eat for a week.
What?
You're not to talk to one another. We're going to set up individual rooms where you're going to be placed individually in each room. And they're yelling
No,
and,
no, no,
and
no.
screaming at
No,
us.
no.
This is not the
You
end.
can't
of it.
go up
This
there.
is only the beginning. So when they locked us in that
What's up,
room,
Jack?
it was all dark.
I'm down.
And I could hear the girls crying, and they're crying, and they're scared, and they're crying. And I don't know why, I just couldn't cry. We were there all night. Finally, we heard these clang, clang, this walk coming towards the door.
Oh,
And
God.
then she called one girl at a time. And the day had passed. It was evening again, and I was the last one in that room.
Oh, God.
And then finally, she calls me into her office, and she keeps all her, like her weapons there, her straps and everything. She said to me, oh, so you're the leader, you're the brave. And
Fuck,
she
yes,
was
I
just
am.
going on and on, trying to put me down to the lowest level. And she beat me up with that strap. I just
Fucking, yeah.
froze like that. I froze in one state. I said, I'm not going to cry. And she beat me up really, really bad. She put me in a room, and she wouldn't let me out of that room until some of the bruises start going away. After the bruises start going away, then she took me downstairs, and she had all the girls stand around, and she took and she shaved me. She said, this is what's going to happen to you if any of you ever dare to run away. She said, you're not to talk to her for the rest of this term, and she's to sit alone, and you have nothing to do with her.
Fuck.
She did let me go into the refectory, which is the dining room, but I was not to eat the same things that the girls ate. I didn't hear what she said about the food. I didn't
Fuck,
like
man.
it anyways. And she had this table just for me, and all the girls are facing me
What the
like I was
fuck?
on display. For the rest of the term, I was there 8
Making
years. And I left there that June 1952. After I left residential school, I went home, and it was like we were all strangers. It wasn't home anymore. I told my mother, I said, I'm leaving. And she said to me, where are you going? I said, I don't know, but I'm leaving. I'm going to work. And she said, okay, I'm going with you. I
Oh,
was just so happy that she seemed to understand. And we went to the States. We went down to Michigan. There was an ad in the paper for a babysitter. So I figured, well, I can do that in the meantime. Soon after that, however, I started meeting girls my age, and they were not natives.
Hmm.
They were all white girls. But yet they took me into their company. So it was an amazing start. I didn't realize it at the time, but they were giving me a gift that I was worth something. They lifted me and made me a human being. They taught me about love and friendship, trust. And the biggest gift they gave me was when they taught me how to drive. When I was behind the wheel, they gave me freedom. As a teenager, I had never experienced that in life.
hmm.
I was having so much fun.
My chief invited us to one of our most sacred places. It's actually the place his grandfather grew up. So we went on a 2-hour trip up to provincial park that we've actually reclaimed as our people. And my auntie, she was like completely at peace.
Cool.
There's nothing like peace and quiet after a raging storm. In our teachings, it says you have power when you truly forgive them. And for the longest time, I would say, oh yeah, I forgive them. You know, I'd say it, but I wouldn't really mean it.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to my old resentful ways towards them. But there is a difference when you truly, truly forgive them.
Yeah, but
You receive so
How?
much love and peace that I think I deserve.
And the song he sang was gifted to him. And it talks about when a lot of bad things happen, sometimes you question, how can there be anything spiritual? How can there be a creator? How can there be anyone here looking out for me if all these bad things keep happening? And so the song says, where will I find my spirit? And then the words back are, you'll find your spirit in all of the land around you, inside your heart, on the other side, so you're in your ancestors. But you'll find your spirit exactly where you were. And I thought that was a beautiful way to sing us out.
Are you understanding that? I think you do. Because I see a little glistener in your eye.
Oh,
She knew that I wasn't ready to let her leave. But she looked me in the eyes and she acknowledged my fear. My deepest fear. Which is about losing people.
oh,
I keep telling people when they get very, very emotional about it that one day when I'm not here, you're going to be even stronger because you're going to say, she did it. She did it. I'm going to be just like her.
My biggest fear is losing my mom and my aunt. Those are like the women I grew up idolizing, the women I wanted my whole life to be like them, travel like them, be free like them, stand up for our people like them, have a sisterhood like them, friendship, connection.
Don't cry, my girl.
I think that's the one thing that people don't get is that acknowledgement. It's like a living goodbye. So I don't want to just document, I want to remember. I want to remember her while she's still here. And I want her to see her own story. I hope she gets to see this doc. I want her to see it. And I want her to let it go. And I want her to be free. I just love you.
I know. And one good thing about our culture, we don't die.
you're amazing. Holy shit.
And see. Just kidding. In my work lately, I've been on a deep dive exploring cultural reclamation. We've survived because we listened to our women and our elders. I want my auntie to see our communities flourish before she goes. For that, I must hear her truth and absorb everything she can teach me while she's here. She tells me Indigenous women must take up leadership roles. We must be willing to do the work and be dedicated to our communities to help them heal and grow. There's an urgency within my generation to record what our elders have to say while we have them, hear their languages before they're lost, and learn the creation stories that brought us here. Most Canadians don't live with these fears and the persistent tension of loss. Inende, she is absent.
No more. No more. No more. No more.
Okay, Camus.
Mate, qu'est-ce qui est annexe in America? So do that, sana, anadaki.
That sounds like Joanne.
Anadaki.
Wait.
Kitigasok spumua. Kixista kikimna.
Wait. Where's the remote? Where's the remote?
Kigawaki was.
I missed it.
Kidakumata pistutsi.
Where'd the
Diaks.
remote go?
Kidaksi dakumata po. Kida koki tsinchka.
Damn it.
Ohkanestnik. Anataki.
On the doggy.
Akanstawaki. Sipi tuto. Oki sipi.
Okay, sipi tutu. Okay, sipi tutu. Okay, sipi tutu. Okay, sipi tutu.
They just have the best party. First Nations have the best party, for sure. Hands down, have the best party. And they love their food. They love feeding people, which is what I want to do with my life, is feed people. Everyone is always happier when they're fed. Fucking tired of fucking people giving a shit so much shit about what food looks like as opposed to what it tastes like, where it came from.
Hi, kids.
Gross.
Taggart's the name. What can I do for you today? How about a sing-song? Mademoiselle from Armageddon, Arlelu. Mademoiselle from Armageddon, come on, everybody. Come on. Mademoiselle from Armageddon, Arlelu. Mademoiselle from Armageddon, hadn't been kissed in 4 years. Inky dinky Arlelu. Now, on to the good stuff. All right. Where did these come from? Whoa. Want to get on the plane? Well, one for everybody? Who wants to get on the plane? One more if the guy that gets on the plane. Oh, you want to go first, do you? Go on in, sweetheart. There you go.
Okay, I don't know what
Not
this is
afraid,
though.
right?
It's like some reenactment thing.
Lots of people.
Just want to find the alright.
Betty made a good choice today. I'm not referring to that stinky jersey she's wearing again.
Oh, is it a hockey team that sucks so bad that we want to talk about taking on a different sport? Okay. How we represent all of this country because our sports team is so fucking bad and we for some reason treat them like they're the Messiah? Like okay, wait, let's talk about some basketball first. Okay, let's rehire the manager. Let's get in basically a whole new team because 3 white little bitches, like fucking little ginger bitches, like fucking suck at what they get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for.
Of genocide.
I know it's a hard gig though. Fucking hockey. I missed the end of last show. This is very sad.
She said, this is what's going to happen to you if any of you ever did.
Mm-hmm.
They made us go up to this classroom. They see it. Road to the highway. Girls were already there, and we said, well, we can't stay on the highway because it's going to look too obvious. So let's go on the railroad tracks.
Talking about they're
Every
trying to
time we
escape
see a
from
car,
the
we hide in the
residential
ditch. We thought we had walked a long way from Spanish. And when we got to Massey, OPP cars came.
my fucking makeup, but I keep crying it off.
And we're just standing there like sitting ducks. They knew right away we were the runaways. The cop came over, he says, the school reported that you ran away and we have to take you back.
And you wonder
And
why
the
a bunch of
girls
kids
just
ran away.
started to cry. They were afraid of the consequences. Well, I was too. And I said, please don't take me back there. And he said, because you're underage, I have to take you back.
How do you take her back to her parents?
By the time we got back to the school, it was dark. About 5-6 teachers came out, and they were all happy and greeting the police and smiling. Oh, and they're all safe. That officer kept on looking at me, and I think just my facial expressions just let this cop know that this was phony.
Isn't it?
And then
yeah,
the cops left,
they
and
knew.
once that door closed behind it, it was like hell on earth.
How do you fucking
Here's
put kids
your
back there if you know that they're
beloved
getting
Uncle
abused?
Sonny.
Oh, look, Jimmy Brown.
Yes,
Oh, let me see.
look at how cute he was.
That's your
And
dad.
that's when he first attended school, I think, in
Wow.
1944. Yes,
That's so interesting to see, you know.
I know. I was just all choked up when I first seen those pictures.
When did you first see these guys? Recently?
No, when the program came in for the Healing Foundation, and they started sending away for the pictures and getting as much information from the students, and yeah.
This article is
You did something. I don't know what it was for.
the Globe and Mail, and this article is what inspired this documentary.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
I think that she's just petting her.
Come on.
Okay.
Strong woman.
My auntie outlived all of her brothers and sisters. And what's in between those pages is her guilt for being the one who survived. And she says it over and over again, is that the reason they didn't is because they just weren't strong enough. And that's not about just strength. What she's
Systematic
saying
oppression.
is that it was almost impossible to not be broken.
Fucking generations of
They made
systematic
us go
fucking
up to
oppression.
this classroom. They sealed it off, and they said, "For you running away, you're not going to have anything to eat for a week. You're not to talk to one another. We're going to set up individual rooms where you're going to be placed individually in each room." And they're yelling and screaming at us. This is not the end of it. This is only the beginning.
Oh,
So when they locked us in that room, it was all dark. And I could hear the girls crying, and they're crying, and they're scared, and they're crying. And I don't know why. I just couldn't cry.
fuck. A
We were there
teenager.
all night. Finally, we heard these
15,
clang,
she said?
this walk coming towards the door. And then she'd call one girl at a time. And the day had passed. It was evening again, and I was the last one in that room. And then finally, she calls me into her office, and she keeps all her weapons there, her straps and everything. She said to me, "Oh, so you're the leader, you're the brave," one," and she was just going on and on, trying to put me down to the lowest level. And she beat me up with that strap. I just froze like that. I froze in one state. I heard, "I'm not going to cry." And she beat me up really, really bad. She put me in a room, and she would let me out of that room until some of the bruises start going away. After the bruises start going away, then she took me downstairs, and she had all the girls standing around, and she took and she shaved me. She said, "This is what's going to happen to you if any of you ever dare
Making an example.
to run away." She said, "You're on not to talk to her for the rest of this term." And
Okay.
she's sit
So
alone.
physical abuse isn't working
Yeah,
anymore.
nothing to do
Let's
with her.
fucking escalate it to mental
She
abuse.
did let me go into the refectory, which is the dining room. But I was not to eat the same things that the girls ate. I didn't care what she said about the food. I didn't like it anyways. And she had this table just for me, and all the girls are facing me like I was on display for the rest of the term. I was there 8 years, and I left there that June 1952. After I left residential school, I went home, and it was like we were all strangers. It wasn't home anymore. I told my mother, I said, I'm leaving. And she said to me, where are you going? I said, I don't know, but I'm leaving. I'm going to work. And she said, okay, I'm going with you.
Oh,
I was just so happy that she seemed to understand. And we went to the States. We went down to Michigan. There was an ad in the paper for a babysitter. So I figured, well, I can do that in the meantime. Soon after that, however, I started meeting girls my age, and they were not natives. They were all white girls. But yet they took me into their company.
yeah, I don't understand.
So it was an amazing start. I didn't realize it at the time, but they were giving me a gift that I was worth something.
This lady is a gift.
They
Holy
lifted
shit,
me
man.
and made me a human being. They taught me
You should
about
fucking
love
hate
and
them.
friendship,
Like,
trust.
or I would assume that
And
somebody
the
would
biggest
fucking
gift they gave
hate
me
white
was
people
when
out
they
there.
taught me how to drive. When I was behind the wheel, they gave me freedom. As a teenager, I'd never experienced that in life. And I was having so much fun.
Freedom. True freedom.
My chief invited us to one of our most sacred places. It's actually the place his grandfather grew up. So we went on a 2-hour trip up to a provincial park that we've actually reclaimed
That's super
as our
cool.
people. And my
That's what
auntie,
fucking
she was like,
start fucking reclaiming
completely at
shit.
peace.
Just go fucking occupy shit and be like, this is fucking mine. Because they're not gonna be giving it back. Like, enough of this
There's
fucking
nothing like peace and quiet after a
talking,
raging
truth, and
storm.
reconciliation bullshit. It's all fucking talk,
In
and
our
then
teachings, it says you have power when you truly forgive them. And for the longest time, I would say, oh yeah, I forgive them. You know, I'd say it, but I wouldn't really mean it. I'd go back to my old resentful ways towards them. But
I'm
there's a
fucking
difference
resentful. Like,
when you truly forgive them. You receive so much love and peace that I think I deserve.
everybody deserves that.
And the song
Dying
he
with
sang was
dignity.
gifted to him. And it talks about when a lot of bad things happen, sometimes you question, how can there be anything spiritual? How can there be a creator? How can there be anyone here looking out for me if all these bad things keep happening? And so the song says, where will I find my spirit? And then the words back are, you'll find your spirit in all of the land around you,
And that's what
inside your heart,
I did that
on
summer.
the other side. So you're in your ancestors. But you'll find your spirit exactly where you are. And
I like that.
I thought that was a beautiful way to sing us out.
Are you understanding that? I think you do. Because I see a little glistener in your eye.
Mm-hmm.
So, fucking
She
got
knew
me
that I
used
wasn't
to
ready to
doing.
leave. But she looked me in the eyes and she acknowledged my fear,
Just hug, like,
my deepest fear,
into my soul. Like,
which is about losing people.
ditto, bro.
I keep telling people when they get very, very emotional about it that one day when I'm not here, you're going to be even stronger because you're going to say, she did it. She did it. I'm going to be just like her.
My biggest fear is losing my mom and my aunt. They're like the women I grew up idolizing, the women I wanted my whole life to be like them, travel like them, be free like them, stand up for our people like them, have a sisterhood like them, friendship, connection.
Never belonged to anything.
Don't cry, my girl.
I think that's the one thing that people don't get is that acknowledgement.
It's fucking
It's like a
amazing
living
fucking
goodbye.
ideas for sure. It's crazy.
So I don't want to just document, I want to remember. I want to remember her while she's still here. And I want her to see her own story. I hope she gets to see this doc. I want her to see it, and I want her to let it go. And I want her to be free. I just love you.
I know. And one good thing about our culture, we don't die.
Yeah, that's clear.
And scene. Just kidding.
That's amazing. Oh, wow. Okay.
In my work lately, I've been on a deep dive exploring cultural reclamation. We've survived because we listened to our women and our elders. I want my auntie to see our communities flourish before she goes. For that, I must hear her truth and absorb everything she can teach me while she's here. She tells me Indigenous women must take up leadership roles. We must be willing to do the work and be dedicated to our communities to help them heal and grow. There's an urgency within my generation to record what our elders have to say while we have them. Hear their languages before they're lost and learn the creation stories that brought us here. Most Canadians
That's
don't
something I
live
could jump
with
on board
these
with.
fears and the persistent tension of loss.
The way Native First
Inende,
Nation people do fucking funerals,
she
that
is
shit
absent.
is amazing.
No more. No more. No more. No more.
I would like to know if this is on the book. So there's no point in me doing this anymore. I'm gonna just keep fucking leaking it off my face. Oh, wait. And back studios. Wait. Wait. I want to know what the fucking rules they made. Sorry,
Become
Jack.
a versatile and in-demand asset in the workforce with the University of Florida.
Shut up. This isn't even... Damn it. Oh,
The historical re-
Really? Bitch. Why? Yes, don't understand. Fucking abuse. Child after child after child. And you got away with it.
Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward, and this is Face to Face.
We'll come back to the side. Library. And let's go ahead all the way to the end.
And I want her to be free. I just love her.
I know. And one good thing about our culture, we don't die.
MC. Just kidding. In my work lately, I've been on a deep dive exploring cultural reclamation. We've survived because we listened to our women and our elders. I want my auntie to see our communities flourish before she goes. For that, I must hear her truth and absorb everything she can teach me while she's here. She tells me Indigenous women must take up leadership roles. We must be willing to do the work and be dedicated to our communities to help them heal and grow. There's an urgency within my generation to record what our elders have to say while we have them, hear their languages before they're lost, and learn the creation stories that brought us here. Most Canadians don't live with these fears and the persistent tension of loss.
I don't have any heritage other than the
Inende.
despicable heritage
She
of
is
the Europeans.
absent.
It's pretty clear what they've done. That's the heritage that I'd rather not give acknowledgement to. Well, acknowledge, but not give any kind of. Not a very proud heritage, mind. So, Auntie Mary is still rocking her chair in Glaze Bay. Oh, wait. I don't know if it's the same in other First Nations languages. Like, I know the language isn't Mohawk, but Mohawks, what they speak, I don't know if it's the same when it comes to K's and D's. T's. T's are pronounced like D's. K's are pronounced like G's. I know that. And then there's I can't remember, there's something that you guys make a sound, but mine was a growl, which is not apparently because Joanne's named Gorunugohe, but you roll the R and I can't do the R roll because I growl. I sound like I'm just like, ha! Like a growling. Okay, thank Mary Bell for sharing your story. This film is dedicated to all those recovering from and resisting genocide.
So I don't want to just document, I want to remember. I want to remember her.
I keep going back, my bad. So R-A-I-M talk. Okay, so that's a really nice name. very pretty name. I don't know what it means though. Sorry. Maybe awful to listen to, but
Hi, Susan. Honey.
Yeah.
I respect there. But that I cough.
Oh, please, thanks. That cough? Definitely COVID. Get the vaccine.
That these women they were just fallen women and they were to be punished, and that even the poor little illegitimate children were called the spawn of the devil, which is absolutely terrible.
In the twilight, children lay sleeping.
What is this?
He is one of the tens of thousands of ill-fated children born in ultra-Catholic 20th century Ireland.
Oh.
Hidden, interned,
Okay, not quite.
cast away by society.
Not quite what we're going for.
I am a survivor of genocide. Because I know a lot that didn't make it. So many committed suicide when they came out of that school. And a lot of us turned to alcohol to forget and died from it.
I was driving on rural roads with my young son and nephew when I heard that a farmer shot and killed a young Cree man named Colton Bushy.
Cops like literally ghetto stuff the shit out of fucking native kids' heads apparently, and they just literally get away with it.
Dance with tears in her eyes, and she said that Coco had died.
Is there any native
The
people
entire
in that
world,
jury?
the entire fucking Western fucking nation is like looking for fucking this girl when her boyfriend got into a fight on the highway.
Talk about reconciliation. What are you gonna do?
Everybody saw some little white down the hall. Brenda, Cindy, it's been so long.
Okay, so I'll hold it, crawl through, other side, up. Okay, yeah, good job. I am Cree, and I was raised by a homesteading family in southern Saskatchewan.
Oh, girl.
I was adopted, one of many Indigenous children raised away from our culture.
Hey. Yeah. Do you ever want to go back, like, how it was?
What do you mean?
Like, before the settlers came?
I'm not sure. Oh,
The prairies have a complicated history, and Indigenous people are often at the receiving end of racism. My son and nephew have been taught to not accept it, to not internalize it, even when we feel it every day. Our motto is "This is our territory. We belong here, even if people try to make us think we don't." The boys and I were traveling in the summer of 2016 when I found out a young Cree man named Colton Bushy was shot and killed by a farmer. On that summer day, Colton and some young people spent the day drinking and swimming. On the way home, Colton and two young women were asleep in the back. There were two young men driving, and they stopped at a farm. One tried to break into a truck by hitting it with a .22 rifle, which broke. The SUV they were in had one tire on the rim. Gerald Stanley was known for fixing cars. The young men drove into his yard. One jumped on a parked quad. Gerald and his son Sheldon started yelling, so he got back in the SUV and they tried to drive away. Sheldon smashed their windshield with a hammer, and Gerald kicked their taillight, then ran to get a gun. Driving on the rim and unable to see, the driver hit a parked SUV and came to a stop. The two young men ran. Stanley fired 2 shots. Colton woke up and jumped into the front seat. A moment later, he was dead from a close-range shot to the head. The remaining 2 witnesses later testified that Stanley's wife said, "That's what you get for trespassing."
Could have shot the gun in the air and told them, get out of the car. You guys are going to sit on the side of the road while the RCMP are on their way. But he took it upon himself to justice. He figured, oh, you know, they're on my land.
So shoot the shit out of them.
Considering a life or anything, just go out there and just start shooting his gun at people, walk right up behind my
That's what our people do
shoot
best.
him in the back of the head.
Fucking.
A mother does not deserve their children to go before them.
The next day, the
Stuff's getting stolen?
RCMP issued
Shoot
a
'em.
press release. But instead of focusing on Colton's death or Stanley's actions, they say Colton's friends entered private property.
Yes!
And that someone died as a result. Numerous online comments are quickly posted. Many are made on farmers' Facebook groups, but some also come from people living in towns and cities.
Wait, what?
When I went on Facebook, and then I seen all these comments by people about thieving Indians getting what they deserved. Don't go on people's property if you don't want to get shot. You know, we work hard for our stuff, and you're gonna come and steal it. I'd shoot you too. And reading all these comments, and I'm like messaging or commenting back as fast as my fingers will type. And at one point, I just grabbed my phone and I threw it at the windshield.
I don't know. I have to sit with this for a second. Because these are all people that will never fucking say that. Face to face, will never fucking say that. To me, those people are not worth acknowledging. And this fucking poor girl who fucking just lost somebody has to fucking... Someone fucking just take her fucking technology shit away from her. Like, she was just gonna put herself in a deeper fucking sentence. Like, because people will say those things, but if you're fucking face to face with them, I guarantee you, those same people who say shit like that will not fucking say it. They fucking talk tough because they fucking think they have no fucking repercussions. Like I'll watch this for a little bit longer, but to me, this is not that kind of shit is not productive to any kind of cause. So, like, this is just watching a girl who just lost someone just getting more and more fucking on her, and it's not gonna help. Okay.
I'm like messaging or commenting back as fast as my fingers will type. And at one point, I just grabbed my phone and I threw it at the windshield.
Gerald Stanley is charged with second-degree murder 2 days after Colton's death. Stanley's first court appearance is in North Battleford at the provincial courthouse. There is a significant RCMP presence.
remorseful. No remorse in this man's eyes or his family's for a lost baby. Although there is a lot of anger, a lot of grief, the legal system will do its part in terms of the RCMP investigation as well as the court process. We need to have confidence in that moving forward.
Yeah, but
and hopefully that justice will be served.
At the bail hearing, it comes out that Stanley used a restricted handgun to shoot Colton, and that there were 12 guns found on his property.
What?
Eventually,
The
Stanley
fuck you need
released
12
on
guns for, bro?
$10,000 bail.
You need one. I don't know, like this would be like a fucking
Red pheasant, sweetgrass,
roles are
little
reversed.
pine, and poundmaker are some of the surrounding First Nations in the Battlefords, named after the chiefs who negotiated Treaty 6 with the Crown. Stanley's farm is just a few miles away from Red Pheasant, where Colton was from. This area is where Canada hung 8 warriors in 1885 without legal representation, after they fought back against government agencies who were starving them to death. It is also where Canadian troops fired cannons into Cree camps. It is a heartbreaking history that continues into today.
But it is history nonetheless, and have to listen to it, you have to hear it.
It happened.
As
Yeah,
sad as it
dinner,
is.
He didn't show up. I put his food in the microwave. When I looked out the window and I saw a big line of cars coming. And I looked out there and I told the boys, I said, look, there's something going on. Look at all these vehicles coming. Next thing you know, we were surrounded by cops. They drew their guns.
What?
Surrounded the trailer.
What?
And I asked them what's going on. And they said, are you Debbie Baptiste? And I said, yes. And they said, what's Colton Bushy to you? And I said, my son. And they said, your son's deceased.
Ran to the back room to tell my older brother that they're saying our little brother's dead. They all swarmed the house. They came inside, went room to room, closet to closet.
And I started screaming. I was holding my hands, and he held me back with my hands, and he said, get yourself together.
Fuck you, fuck you.
And then while he was shaking me and telling me that, he was smelling my breath. And I was like, what did I do? Why are you guys doing this to me? What did I do? But sitting home waiting for my son to come home, and his dinner was in a microwave.
Many people don't know that the RCMP enforced the Indian Act, the pass system, and other oppressive policies.
Handcuffs.
So this one, the first one we're going to look at is from North Battleford.
Cool.
So 4 guys from the 5th to the 12th in November. What it means was.
See, like, why is it there? Why is that book there? That's my question.
They used to call women. That it,
Sorry, wait.
November? What it means was North Battleford. So 4 Cree squaws from the 5th to the 12th in November. What it means was, well, that's what they used to call
1880.
the Square Rock. What they used to call women. That it's a direct term now, especially.
Okay.
This one's from Fort
I
Walsh.
heard that in the Peter Pan movie, the Disney Peter Pan movie.
Council held this afternoon with Indians.
Swab, get him fired. Swab,
Big
don't get him
Bear
fired.
signed treaty
Swab, go home.
at 5 p.m. One of the things that Michelle always said is that we're here because the people who came before us loved us so much. Okay? That's how come we're still here. because those who came before did whatever they could so that you guys would be here and that your kids would be here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been really hard. It's been really hard.
Yes.
Our people have had a hard time. And those hard times aren't done yet. But we want things to be better for you guys.
Oh,
Those are big tears, but I know, right? It's okay. It's a thought that counts.
like their kids actually fucking are paying attention. They actually give a shit. They actually look like they want to learn about it.
We gotta get as many as possible, right? So hundreds of voices are louder than one voice. Yeah.
The family is losing trust in the process, so they hire their own lawyers. They're also worried that racism will affect the trial.
It will.
So they launch a petition to ask for an out-of-province prosecutor.
Next day, we all went trick-or-treating and everything, and we come home and came to good news that Colton was born. Ever since then, we've always had a big celebration like this. All us kids would get dressed up and go out trick-or-treating.
Yeah, and that's how Colton was born. Yeah.
We were cruising down the road and we took a selfie of us. But I carry this with me everywhere. When he was a little boy, he was so smart. He had Harry Potter glasses. And he was really into science. And then if somebody was speaking about, something, and he would correct them, and he would say, he'd have these little Harry Potter glasses, and he'd push him up, and he'd say, scientifically, I don't think that's right. And then he'd said, when he was a little guy like that too, he said, the world would get along if everybody just get a good book and go sit under a tree.
Saskatchewan's Department of Justice ignores the family's petition for an outside prosecutor. During the jury selection, both the prosecution and Stanley's defense team have 14 peremptory challenges. They can veto potential jurors without giving any reason why. Despite the racism displayed since Colton's death, no one is asked if they have bias against Indigenous people.
Which they very much inherently do.
So they said they picked out 7 women and 5 men? Okay. Is there any Native people?
Nope, probably not. And if they are, I
And
guarantee
that
they're
jury?
probably not from a reserve either.
No? Huh.
I guess I'm a little bit part of the problem because I just did not think that.
As people
This
started
is
coming
still
in, it
such a
was
fucking
mostly
big
like
problem, but
non-Indigenous,
obviously
like
it's
white
something.
people coming through the doors. And all of a sudden, this really tall Native dude, long hair, glasses, walked in, and he looked around, and I thought, cool, like maybe another Indigenous person. And he walked up to that jury table, like because they have to check in. And he walked up to check in, and I looked at Lyle, I was like, I'm gonna start to cry because it. It gave me hope that Indigenous people were potential jury members. And immediately Spencer's like, challenge. So he sat down.
What? What?
We just got to pray that they go into it with an open mind and see the evidence and the truth for themselves.
What I always kind of wonder is, you could have shot him in the arm, in the leg.
You could have just not
Or directly
shot him
back
at
of
all,
the
and
head.
maybe, I don't know, call the fucking authorities
They
and let the
can't say
authorities
it
do
was
their
an
fucking job,
accident.
apparently. Or
Stanley
not
made
to
a
do their
choice.
job
He
because they
decided
fucking
to run
suck at
after
it.
a gun instead of running after a phone.
Because they shoot the shit out of people all the time, too, and they literally do not have to account for that
We're
either.
waiting, so it's finally here. No more wondering. No more wondering, sitting up at night.
You know it's fucking wrong.
Wondering why this guy gets to roam around free while the rest of us suffer and cry and miss it. It's always going to be like this. This is never going to go away.
It will. People have to fucking do something. Fucking grow fucking Paris fucking walls. Get a swine. See something that's fucking wrong and say it's wrong.
The trial will last 2 weeks. The temperature has dropped to the -30s.
Going up north on the
Throughout
corner.
the trial, the family will feel the pressure of the media spotlight.
That racist. I really didn't.
I was wondering if you have any sort of comments to make to the media or anything in regards to the trial as it gets underway.
Just justice for my son, Colton Bushy.
Anything that I don't understand, and I don't know. I guess because they didn't, and I'm English, and they thought I guess they thought I was the First Nations fucking person too, and that I don't understand a fucking word of French, even though I've lived here for 27 years. Like, I can hear what you're saying. Like, I understand what you're saying.
The Battleford courtroom is small. Gerald Stanley's family sits on one side, and Colton's family sits on the other. The trial is the Crown versus Stanley. Colton's family and their lawyers have no standing or say in what happens inside.
Preserving whose
The
heritage.
Crown prosecutors barely communicate with them. Stanley's defense team includes Scott Spencer and several junior lawyers. A few days earlier, Spencer issued a statement saying the trial is not a referendum on race. The word racism will never be mentioned throughout the proceedings. Bill Burge is the lead prosecutor. He begins by calling members of the RCMP. We learned that the search warrant was delayed and that the vehicle where Colton was killed was left. During this time, rain fell on the scene, washing away much of the evidence. Observers find out the young people spent 18 hours in custody before giving their statements. Stanley's lawyers question them at length about their actions prior to entering the Stanley farm. Some feel the witnesses are the ones on trial.
We know that there's been many issues raised in terms of stealing, theft, racism, murder, all of these issues that are playing on a lot of emotions. But, I guess moving forward, we need to have that confidence that the Crown prosecutors are going to be asking the proper questions and doing their due diligence with all the witnesses that are taking the stand. I don't know if we've felt that today.
Sorry,
Stanley's lawyers make the case that this was an accident, a hang fire, a delay between pulling the trigger and the bullet firing. An RCMP gun expert testifies that hang fires can only last a maximum of half a second. For what the defense is arguing, the hang fire would have had to have been significantly longer. Spencer attempts to bring in anonymous posts from online forums that claim longer hang fires exist, but he's turned down by the judge. He then calls up a last-minute witness who describes having a long hang fire 40 years ago while hunting gophers. Spencer claims that when the gun inexplicably went off, it was pointed downward, inches from Colton's head, because Stanley was reaching into the vehicle Colton was in. Stanley takes the stand and is given the actual gun to demonstrate his actions.
To see the man who held that gun and shot him in the back of the head reenact what he did. That was one of the hardest things that I've ever seen. And have to sit there and endure. All we want is justice for Colton.
Whether it's an accident
most
or not,
observers feel that a murder conviction is
you could have plugged in the
manslaughter
house and
includes the
called it
careless
off.
use of a firearm. So this is the verdict people are now expecting.
Alvin, would you be satisfied with the
Not an
manslaughter result instead of second-degree murder?
I just want to get this done and over with, and it's been hanging over my head, my family's head for quite a while, and it's time that my family starts to heal and move on. And as long as Gerald Stanley is charged and be accountable for his actions of taking a young Indigenous.
The judge tells the jury they have three choices: to find Stanley guilty of second-degree murder, manslaughter, or not guilty. The family and their supporters have nothing to do but wait for the verdict.
How the angle of that bullet went through my nephew. It's almost upwards.
It had to be like this. We did that this morning. We went outside with some reporters, and there was a Ford sitting out there. I think it was Globals. About the same kind you got that was used in this situation. And yeah, they tried it. You have to reach in over the steering column, and the key is in there. And then you have to turn it because you had to turn it off. And if you're holding something, it's just about impossible to do that. Because we were trying it, couldn't do it.
Huh. Like, you know what? Why would you bring an RCMP to our gun expert? Like, I'm pretty sure the people who are like,
The jury
master
announces
hunters
they've reached a verdict.
might be a little bit, have more expertise. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. They've survived from hunting. They're literally the professionals in hunting. So, I just... Fucking humanity, like... Fucking crying
The
and
words
fucking
not
snapping
guilty
pictures.
hang in the air. I see a jury member smile at Stanley. The sheriffs jump up and rush Stanley and his family out of the courtroom. Most of the jury jumps to their feet and runs after them. A couple of them stay seated,
run away.
crying.
Fucking run away.
It feels like everything has changed. Several trucks circle the courthouse, revving their engines. When I ask the crew to film them, one starts to record us as well.
All we ever focused was how much the kids drank. How far was the drive from Red Basin to Baymont? Who all took a swim? Who cares? A young boy got killed. A young boy got killed, point blank.
That's it.
This verdict,
point blank.
This acquittal, it sends the message that it's
Again and
open
again.
season on Indigenous people. But it's not. It's not. The whole process has been stacked against this family from the beginning.
Through the last year and a half, there was still a little bit of an inkling of faith in the legal system. I don't know if justice system is the proper term to use.
There isn't.
But we can use
Yes, why?
excuses in today's
What's that?
society as an engine revving, a vehicle driving into my yard, someone hopping on my quad, to chasing them down and smashing their windows, kicking their taillights out, shooting them, and we're in a very troubled place.
Thousands of people attend over 30 rallies held across Canada and the US, all calling for justice for
What if
Colton.
it was your kid?
Fuel our decolonization.
Like, has your kid ever done stupid stuff?
Fuel the stories you're going to tell your children of the change that needs to happen.
He's done talking. Fucking.
Less than 24 hours after the verdict, a meeting is arranged between Saskatchewan's newly appointed premier and the family.
I would like to take the opportunity to have more of a conversation, if you will, with Colton's family on on anything of your choice.
We have, a 100-year-old judicial system. It's got some great things in it, but it's also got some huge shortcomings, especially when we deal with First Nations.
Yeah.
And as the investigation went on, to hear that at the preliminary, to hear that officers who've only been on the force for a couple of years are the ones who handled the evidence, that the lack of resources that were put towards this investigation, how it was treated so neglectfully, how Colton laid out in the rain, how he was not covered, that vehicle was not covered, evidence was washed away. My brother
a joke, but
That's what the jury had to use to make a decision because it was shitty evidence to begin with. And I couldn't say that. I couldn't say that to the public that this is what my family is dealing with because I wanted to give the system a chance. So hi, thank you again. And I love each and every one of you, and I just wish many blessings for your home and your family.
2 days after the verdict, the family gets on a plane to Ottawa. They want Colton's death to mean something, and for the system to be held to account for how it failed them.
I think this has been very clear that this whole process of
Everyone on Parliament Hill wants to hear what Colton's family has to say. The media's interest in the family remains high.
My family and I were here to share the hardships, the racism, and the discrimination that we felt and experienced all throughout the process. And we're hoping that by vocalizing and sharing what we've been through, that it doesn't fall
Short, but I'm grateful for you both coming in very much.
Am I done for today?
Okay. I'm 13 years old and in grade 8. I am so sorry for your loss. Just think about all the good memories of your son. He will always be in your mind and heart. Hi, justice for Colton.
Every time I give up and I give up hope, and this happens.
there are people that give a shit. There are people that fucking that it's not right. It's not okay. Fucking shooting people because you feel like you're right. Fucking talk about white privilege. Fuck this asshole. Fuck this asshole.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Fucking
it's in busy days of meetings. Let me just say off the top.
Oh, please, let's hear it.
Like I said, on Friday and Saturday, our heart goes out to you, to your family, to the whole community.
Oh, please do your fucking prayer.
This is a time for
Make everything a lot better.
reflection on how we keep coming to this point as a country and how we can make sure that
how you
no
can.
families ever suffer again the way
You could have done something. You fucking lied.
That's the message you want to get across.
Fucking ready to jump up and put a headdress on and fucking dance around. Like,
And I have to go through this life without my
and then
son.
fucking once you're elected, it's like time to end
Our
this whole fucking
cameras have to
protest
leave
over a
after a few
pipeline. Like,
minutes, but I'm allowed
time
to
to shut
stay.
it down. Like,
Trudeau seems willing to listen, but doesn't commit to doing anything
yes,
concrete.
talk. That's all he fucking does.
We don't just speak for my brother Colton. We represent all those who have also went through the process and received no justice.
Jody wasted his
all
brain
the
pool
systemic
for
discrimination that we've endured. We
They're
stand
fucking
here for
in it
them,
together.
and that's what justice for Colton is about.
Fucking
Can I ask some
half
people are
native, didn't fucking
interpreting
live on a
the fact that
reserve.
you've met with the Prime Minister and several cabinet ministers as the government taking sides in this court case, and I wonder how you feel about
Full
that.
pension, $230,000 a year for 5 months of being like, I feel uncomfortable. Good job,
So
bitch.
it really is an issue for all of Canadians.
It is. It's an issue for everybody. This should be fucking priority numero uno for everybody.
3 Conservative MPs request a meeting. Despite being from Saskatchewan, their leader, Andrew Scheer, declines to attend.
It's
Yeah,
come a
'cause it's a
long way.
punk
We got a
bitch,
lot more
like-
to come. We realize that our
And fucking
education
O'Toole
rates
is
are
equally
certainly not
a
where we
punk
need them.
bitch.
But once we get there, the prosperity, we want to share the economic.
It's not just Indigenous youth who need educating, it's your people who need educating
Yes,
about the
yes.
true history of Saskatchewan. The world is watching your constituency to see what you're gonna do and what the community leaders are gonna, what the Saskatchewan leaders are gonna do in response to this.
The only way we can move forward
from these types of situations or any type of situation is by having conversation, right? And really lending a hand out to one another. That's
Well,
the
we
only
talked about
way
it. We
that
talked
we're
about it. We
going
talked about it. We
to-
talked about it. We know
to
it's a problem. So
reach
fucking, what are you gonna do about it
and
now?
Reconciliation and relationship with people.
This racism needs to stop. And you could probably start with those farmers with firearms that say nothing but racial discrimination on that page. We don't have a page like that. We respect human life.
We talk about unity, we talk about reconciliation.
I've never had a problem with fucking peacekeepers.
What are you gonna do? As human beings, as people within your position, even, what is your answer to this going on in Saskatchewan?
You are limited to one firearm. And that firearm needs to be locked up, and you need annual
A month after the verdict,
updates for
Saskatchewan's
like
Department
fucking
of Justice
checking on your mental
declines to
state.
appeal
like-
Stanley's acquittal. Colton's family is devastated. The province will go on to strengthen trespass laws. The online comments continue to pour in.
Doesn't matter if you're red, white, blue, green. Who cares what color you are? It's not a race issue. It's a criminal against a victim. And we're victims and we can't do anything about it. That's what I'm trying to say.
And
I'll spell it out right now, right here. Probably 80% of us, farmers here, will do exactly what Gerald Stanley did.
Okay, well,
You know?
and
That's how it's gotta be. I gotta protect my stuff no matter what.
okay, defensive property and defensive person are two different things entirely.
I have a
Fuck
ranch
your stuff.
and I gotta look after it. And then in my thinking, I'm not gonna shoot somebody for a quad or an expensive machine. If I do that, I gotta live with that. It's all about education. I know that if a guy is doing that, hey, I'm in a rough situation, but that's the way it is.
The family feels the provincial and federal governments are stalling on making substantial changes. So they decide to advocate at the United Nations.
Fuck your stuff. Fuck your tractors. Fuck your fucking. Fuck your
Jade
tires.
is
Fuck your
chosen as
trucks.
the
Fuck your tractors.
spokesperson.
Fuck all your fucking stupid shit. It's not worth fucking. If
The
it was your
family has
kid,
been
you would
given a
not be
seat,
saying that.
but Jade still has to make it on the speakers list. The session has a strict
That's why we
closing
have
time of
fucking
6
cops.
p.m.
Like,
Dispossessions and violence. J'ai la rapporteuse spéciale sur les droits des peuples autochtones, Madame Victoria Tauli Corpus, à prendre la parole.
Madam Chairperson of the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues.
It's now the afternoon, and Jade is still not on the list.
Le Hamaï de leur présence cet après-midi.
priority number one.
I think it's what is actually.
6 o'clock has arrived, and time has run out.
This demonstration of support inspires me to remain strong and to further pursue my commitment to the promotion and protection of Indigenous people's rights.
Je vous remercie. Donc, je fais une exception à la procédure. J'avais déjà annoncé la clôture, mais je me suis rendu compte que dans la salle, il y a une situation qui mérite notre attention.
I am the sister of the late Colton Bushy, a 22-year-old Nehiyao Napio from the Red Pheasant First Nation, a Cree community in the state of Canada. Colton and his Indigenous friends drove onto a settler farm one afternoon in August 2016, where he was shot in the back of the head by a non-Indigenous farmer named Gerald Stanley. An all-white jury acquitted Gerald Stanley of all charges. Colton was the baby boy of the family. Colton had a promising future with a strong work ethic. He had just received his forest fighter certificate. He was a traditional helper trained with ceremonial protocol and was always helping his people. Colton was not a thief.
Nope.
He was a kind and generous young man.
Kid being a kid.
I recommend that the Special Rapporteur and the expert mechanism undertake a study on the systemic racism and discrimination against Indigenous people within the judicial and legal systems in Canada.
Because if the world
This
were
study
reversed,
must
there
produce
wouldn't even be a fucking
recommendations to
jury.
ensure the
It would
protection of
just be
Indigenous
immediately
families
guilty.
who utilize the judicial and the legal systems. This will advance our calls on the Canadian government to establish a royal commission on the elimination of racism in the justice system. Only a royal commission has the authority to compel all involved in this miscarriage of justice.
No, that's right. Because the RCMP, they need to fucking go. Fucking sexual assault, fucking racism, like all this shit, and goes fucking. They just get away with it again and again and again and again. So.
My adoptive parents live on the family homestead that was settled by my great-grandparents. I learned to shoot at a young age and was always taught to respect guns.
Rule number 1, always assume the rifle is loaded. Always.
Expert.
Always assume it's loaded.
Gun
Number 2,
expert. Hunting
always point this
expert.
away.
Why is it he
People
fucking
or animals or buildings
someone who's
or
called
anything you
to,
don't want to shoot.
fucking testify and drive like at court? Like,
Oh, wow. That sounds pretty good.
That sounded good.
Yeah.
oh, you guys are cute.
Just waiting for the wind to go.
My grandpa is 92. He saved all the artifacts he found when he broke the land, and he's giving them to us.
I could see where there was teepee rings, stones for teepee rings in 2 or 3 places down there. That's when I kind of thought, maybe I shouldn't be breaking this up. But I went ahead and done it. Grew wheat.
It's a hard time right now, Grandpa.
Yeah, it's a troubled world.
And that's why I decided to do the film, because I knew the day when Colton was shot that things were going to change. I don't want him to be looked at like he's not as important.
Because if it was your kid?
And I'm scared because I know there's people out there that's how they feel.
I think you're always going to find that some people are going to be racist. Think they're better than the next guy. It's always been that way.
Well, and I think too, it's because a lot of it's over property, So it's not like somebody's life was in danger,
Stuff can be replaced.
It's over stuff.
Yeah, there's always 2 sides to that story, though, Tasha.
Yeah, but you can't replace people.
What was the reason they were there?
They were having fun.
Well,
And you have something of your own you worked hard to get.
It's not a reason to kill somebody for it.
How do you protect it?
It's not a reason to kill somebody for it.
Not by shooting someone.
Thank you. Little girl.
Not by shooting someone.
Yes.
No, I agree with you 100%, but what's the answer?
Change
I
the
just want
authorities.
people to understand each other better.
That's what needs to happen. It will happen, I think.
It needs to.
It'll take a long time, though. I think it'll take a long time.
Fauna wants to smudge. You want to smudge, Grandpa?
So what's this supposed to do?
This just helps clean and clear
I say,
any negative things or
The girl would just like not shoot somebody. Like even like the child who doesn't really have an understanding of the history and what's happening now can point blank.
I'd like to thank everybody
Not worth it.
for being here today. Colton would have been 25. This is his favorite holiday, so everybody make some wishes on your balloon when you send it up to your loved ones.
I used to do that.
Let Colton know that he isn't forgotten. And today was his day. So thank you for all coming. Hi.
there was the day.
I like the Danish version better.
That looks cool. Yeah.
They're still their spirit is still in the universe.
I really wish you guys had met Colton. I wish you had all had the opportunity to meet him and know more than what happened to him or what happened to my family, and know more about just the memories we share, but to actually know him. You guys would have really liked him.
I was like Tyler. Because at first we didn't get along too well, I guess. I was wearing a police truck stop shirt, and he was like, "You're not native." And I was like, "Yeah, I work there though." He was like, "Well, you shouldn't be wearing that shirt." And then like 2 weeks later, he came and found me and he apologized. Colton's family demands Royal Commission to address the structural racism in our Canada's legal system.
Oh, I pray for you at night as I sing.
Hang on, let's.
Hold you tight.
I don't even know how he found me in Billings Field, right, like between exams. I didn't tell anybody I was going there. I usually don't ever go through Billings Field. I could have just gone home. It's 5 minutes away. So I just was like in the middle of, way at the end of the field too. And he came and found me, he stabbed me, he was like, "I'm gonna apologize for fucking being a dick, and I get that you do work there." And that was it. Right at the beginning of the summer, in June. No, not even May. End of May. And then June, I think he was doing a job with his uncle or something like that for like a month or something. And that was like the first fucking funeral that I've been the way that natives do funerals at the Longhouse. That was like the first time that natives lay him out and you can touch him and you can come in and out, and if it's like too much and you start crying, you fucking leave and you come back in. They feed you because native people love feeding people. Guys are like fucking food pushers. Fucking 2 days of wake, and there was like one night and we set up tents and on the lawn, the Longhouse, and fucking at nighttime we like laid out. It was very, very lame. Very lame. We laid in a circle in the grass and fucking sang his favorite songs, like 3 Days Grace and shit. And I think the way that they do funerals is a lot more healing and a lot. I did not think funerals meant as much as they do, I guess. Because I thought I could keep going on, just not dealing. If we all pretend that nothing happened and there's no remains, there's no funeral. And we're all just gonna hurts too. I can feel it building. And I thought that feeling would go away eventually. Because I've just been to so many funerals at this point, like I stopped counting after 10. Because I ran out of fingers. So it was like, fuck it, I'm just not going to count how many funerals I could do at this point. I was like, oh, I'm pro funerals. It's like my fucking shine time. I'm the one who has my shit together and everyone else does not. Because I've seen my mom, how she is like the one who has, that's when my mom does well. She fucking gets shit done. And it's after when everything goes back to normal and everybody goes back to their day to day. Me and her are not good. And she's got the grandbaby now, so that's what saved her. Lily is saving my mom. This fucking cat's fault. I fucking didn't deal with shit. I could just not deal with it.
Yeah, oh, that felt so good.
What made me like the parts of me, that whole part that made me that way is just gone. And it's like it never existed. A lot of things I hate about myself. There's some things I like. Anyway. The guy who spoke at fucking Tyler's funeral. That's what I have to say to you. That was fucking hard. That was fucking hard.
Okay, scholars.
But it is reality. And you have to deal with reality that there's no God. And they make that they put that game, that guy it felt like he talked forever. I thought he was fucking, it felt like it was like a whole hour at least of just I was suffocating because my snot was in my face, all but my mouth. I'm trying to get up and walk out, and John was like, don't. I was like, no, I can't. I have to go out. I'm just like, you're not fucking leaving. Fucking sit your ass down. I was like, I hate you so. She was like, use your sleeve. I don't care. Use your shirt. I don't care. And I'm trying to pass his, what do you call it, screen space sometimes. And I have the newspaper clipping of his brother had a baby not too long after, maybe a couple of years after, and it's in the Eastern Door, and it's the announcement of their baby, and he got Tyler's name. What does that? I think that they only does that. And John is going to go away. Katie's just got to knee. Do I not? I have to find that clipping. It should be up there, actually. I have to fucking find that clipping. Look.
Is Marion Buller, who served as the Chief Commissioner of the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. In 1994, Buller became the first Indigenous woman appointed as a provincial court judge in British Columbia. She is a member of the Mistawahis Nahiawak, a Cree First Nation. Of 2021, Buller was appointed as the next Chancellor of the University of Victoria. Commissioner, Chancellor Buller, great to have you with us this week.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm happy to be here.
Congrats on your new role as the Chancellor at the University of Victoria. Can you tell us a bit about that role?
The Chancellor of a university in British Columbia, especially at U Vic, is sort of the Governor General of the university. I'm in charge of all of the graduation ceremonies, all the convocations. I also have a seat on the Board of Governors and a seat on the Senate. So it's quite an active role and the opportunity to do a lot of good.
Busy role for sure, but a little more laid back, I guess, than acting as Chief Commissioner of a National Inquiry.
A little bit more laid back and a lot less travel, thank you.
You acted as, of course, the Chief Commissioner of the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls for 3 years. A heavy job, no doubt. Did you need time, I guess, after that final report was released to take some time for yourself?
Well, thanks for asking, Dennis. Yes, I did take the rest of the summer of 2019. I stayed home. I did some work around my house, so reacquainted with friends and family, and then back to practicing law.
3 years, as you mentioned, pretty much entirely on the road and listening to really difficult truths from families. It must have been a pretty difficult couple of years.
Dennis, it was difficult in a lot of different respects. the travel was difficult, but you get used to it after a while. I think that the difficult part for me was seeing the amount of work that had to be done and done really well and done properly in an extraordinarily short period of time.
And we're going to talk about that time, going back to the beginning of the inquiry, and things kind of got off to a rocky start with delays, one of the commissioners resigning, incredible expectations. Was that all difficult to navigate and to try and keep things on track?
The startup was difficult. And I'll tell you why. The commissioners and I started on September 1st, 2016 with our own cell phones and our own Gmail accounts. We had no offices. We had no staff. And it took us 9 months to get all the offices up and running and get all the staff online. And we had to borrow people from the federal government and from other places just to get up and rolling. The federal government was not at all ready for the work that we had to do and to help us do it. So not only were we, I think the expression was building the bus, riding in the bus, and driving the bus all at the same time, or something like that. And it was very hard work. The subject matter was very difficult. The hearings, getting them up and running, was very difficult as well. But I have to say, kudos, shout outs, big hugs to the National Inquiry staff who really made it happen, and wouldn't have happened in such a good way without them.
Did that kind of come as a shock to you? I mean, there've been calls for maybe a decade at least for a National Inquiry to come on, to start one up and to not have an office, be using their own phones, really unprepared here.
There was a part of me, Dennis, that was surprised about the lack of preparation on the part of the federal government, because they had been doing the pre-inquiry process. They had budgeted for this national inquiry. They had done a lot of preparation work. And
we are talking about the Truth and Reconciliation, right?
Somewhat surprised, but then I wasn't.
Because it's like 6 years that they've been up and running apparently for that program. And also Trudeau's father with the Indian Act shit.
Why did you have such low expectations?
Well, I've been a commission counsel on a public inquiry before.
So somewhere around 30 years we've been talking about fucking Native people having their rights, but
what it takes.
Maybe I'm wrong?
Something like this up and running, to hire people, to get offices open.
Who hired her?
I just had this hunch, Dennis, that they wouldn't be ready for us. It was just
a
hunch, and I can't.
I'm glad we're
scientific about it. It was
doing
entirely a hunch.
Did you feel it was an indication of how serious the federal government was actually taking this inquiry?
Not very, obviously.
Yes. I think that if they were taking it more seriously, there would have been more advanced work to get us up and running.
Maybe include taxing in it. So
as it was, I took my vacation time from the court.
You mentioned the word taxes somewhere.
Start
Like,
looking
I
at
know,
office spaces in Vancouver. And that was just 3 weeks before we were due to start. So I think it just was an indication of the lack of high priority, if that's the right word, given to the National Inquiry.
Who hired you?
You mentioned you'd worked
You're
on
useless.
an inquiry before, and commissioners had wanted a 2-year extension to the 2-year mandate. An additional 6 months was granted, but by most accounts, and you would know better than I, 2 years was never going to be enough time. People have pointed to the inquiry into the fatal Elliott Lake Mall collapse as an example. That took more than 2 years. Did you feel that the timeline was unreal?
I knew the timeline was going to be very tight, Dennis. And
there's
so
no
all the
timeline.
more importance to be able to walk into
So graduation ceremonies, those are important.
Properly resourced operation, because we had to hit the ground running, and I knew that.
You know what your resources
The
are?
difficulty,
Go
there
to
were
the-
several.
I don't
but
know,
the
reserves.
difficulty was,
Go to them.
there
Go
just
ask them.
wasn't this prep work. And
there's no
In
prep work that
fairness, I
needs to
have
be
to
done.
say the people on the
You get in your
federal
car,
government side and pretty
bring a
close
pen. You get in your car,
really
you
strong
go to the
allies
reserve,
in
you
terms of
go to their
moving
fucking
things forward
buildings.
for us.
They're fucking.
I think
They all have a
they
building
had
where they do their
experience.
fucking
I
work
think
with the
that they
government.
were not entirely
The
clear what the
MCK
role
building.
was going to be, but we worked
Fucking
it out.
next
And
to the
in the
Dayton.
end,
Can't
they
fucking
were
miss
very
them.
strong allies in
They're
terms of
very
getting
nice
our
glass
own
balconies.
game moving forward. But it took
I
that
fucking
time.
go in, you go,
And,
I want to talk to
I
somebody
knew
who's in
going in, I
charge.
think
I would
we
like to
originally
figure
had
out how to
28
speak to the
months. It
chief.
was from
What do you guys need?
this is September
How
to
can we help?
the end of December of so it was just a little bit over 2 years. I don't remember the exact number now.
This is a big waste of
And
money.
we
Oh,
lost 9
I'm like,
months
you don't remember
because of the
numbers
lack of
now. This is
resourcing at the
good.
beginning of our work. And that was just
Like I'm laughing because it's like not funny, but it's like
You no doubt knew at the time, but thinking back now, well, what more would you have liked to have done with that 2-year extension?
Dennis, there were so
This sounds
many
like a lot of people
subject
getting
areas
paychecks
that
for
we
doing a whole lot
just
of not work.
skimmed over. The impact of man camps, for example, on Indigenous women, girls, and trans people's safety. Those are those large settlements that come up sort of overnight next door to mines and other resource extraction projects. We just barely skimmed the surface of human trafficking and how that impacts safety of Indigenous women and girls and trans people. We needed to do a lot more work there, and the sort of how that butts up against the sex industry.
I hope it really doesn't matter whether it's my left or right
We
hand.
needed to do a lot of our own research in terms of what are the critical points at which safety for Indigenous women and girls and trans people just disappears. How are people falling through the cracks, so to speak, or through the safety?
Can someone get this bitch out of here, please?
We also needed to look at the impact of poverty and the importance of a guaranteed annual livable income.
There's one.
We needed to do
You got like a
lot more
half a
work
point.
about what's happening in Northern Canada. So
There are
I'm very
emergency
proud of the work
services.
that
That's
we
a big
did
one.
do. I think
They
it's
don't have
amazing,
emergency
but
services
there's a lot more
in
work that
like
could
no
have done.
the tap water. That's a
We're
good
gonna
place
talk
to
about
start
the work,
too.
The final report, Commissioner. We
And
just have to step
Hydro-Quebec
aside
is
for a
not
quick break,
a
and then
solution.
we'll
They
continue
are
the conversation later on.
everybody does not want to be dealing with even white
Chancellor.
people, even black people, even and no one wants to deal with Hydro-Quebec ever. And there's no other option. It's that or nothing. And I don't think you get that option either because I don't know, you might have the city fine you $1 bajillion million for fucking your home not being up to code in some fucking way, shape, or form because you don't have hydro.
Two organizations who have formed a close bond are making a significant difference, working together with goats and bees to those most in need in Jordan.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Genuinely, I am.
Welcome back to Face to Face. Our guest this week
like
is
very
Mary
orangey, but
Buller,
I'm like
Chief Commissioner for the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. Commissioner Buller, before the break, we were discussing some of the things you wished you could have looked into more had you been granted a longer extension. Looking back, were there other things that maybe fell outside of the parameters of the inquiry that you wish?
Texas doesn't have fucking water for like a week, and people are like, the planet needs to know. Literally, everybody needs to know. This is against human fucking basic human rights here.
Incarceration or
Like, wait,
of Indigenous women and girls.
the natives
That was
fucking
another area that,
First Nations people in Ganawage literally have only lived without clean drinking water. Like you'll get mono.
They got there.
And they were like, yeah, let's get Hydro-Quebec over there right away. Like it's like, nope, that's not what we want.
It again. But these are women who, and girls for that matter, and trans people who have been incarcerated.
40%
somehow
of
survived
the
violence
women's incarceration
in their
is
own lives.
fucking First
So,
Nations people or or
Although we did hear from survivors of violence and incarcerated women, we
See,
need to
like
do
Cameron
more
said
to
to
learn
me
from the
today,
survivors about
Indigenous
what it took to
just
get
means
them out of that cycle of violence.
because like Aboriginal,
They had a
I
lot
think
to
is
teach us.
that should
Yeah,
be
we speak
considered a
of
slur
the
because
criticisms
it
of the inquiry
actually
and some of the
stems
other
from the
issues
word
that there were,
abnormal,
but,
apparently.
you know, I think when that final report came out, people were, you know,
Apparently,
really blown away. How would you describe the
Indigenous is
reaction
also,
to
like,
the final report and
basically
its
like saying native,
231 calls for
which
justice?
they're not native, like
You know,
native to the
I
land.
just have to add a
We're
comment
the
that
natives
one of the
to
other
this
commissioners made after the fact, that the media turned it,
We are the ones
our
who
work into,
came here.
it was some sort of
You want to
reality
fucking talk
show
about
about who
heritage
was
and
still left on the
history?
island, rather than focusing on the work that we were doing. And I thought that was rather apt in hindsight. But, you know, our final report, we knew it would be great. And we had a wonderful research team that helped us sort of behind the scenes as well.
Hey,
Kathy
so you guys
Claire
have a lot of wonderful
Duhamel
people.
is
So then who's the one
brilliant,
who's
and she led us through the whole
fucking up here?
final report process. Again,
Shit's
you
not
know,
getting done.
I'm very proud of the work that we did do. And I like to think that the voices of the family members, the voices of the survivors and the other witnesses that we heard from clearly came through in the work that we did do in our writing in the final report.
And what
Because
work
it really
was
about
that?
what the families, members, and survivors had to say, their truths. That's what our work was about. The final report has
They didn't need you to
garnered
do that.
attention
They could have done
internationally,
it with or
perhaps
without
even
you.
more than domestically. We've had feedback from South Africa, from Australia,
Right.
New Zealand, various states in the United States, for example. I've had
'Cause we are North
contacts
America.
from international
Yeah.
courts, for example, Organization of American
Hey, so you guys talk to a lot of people.
bodies
That's cool.
all have shown interest in the work that we have done, perhaps,
Which
as I
is?
say, more so than domestically. But you know, it's a really hard topic, Dennis. It's not a light.
Oh my God, then
fluffy,
why are you
fluffy
in this
kind of
position,
friendly
lady?
topic. This is hard stuff. And to use the word genocide was a decision the commissioners and I made with purpose. We knew we couldn't avoid
Systematic.
that conclusion, and we could not use that
Okay,
word.
Wait.
And
Yep.
people just
Nope.
don't like
You
it.
can't. You
Yep.
can't avoid using that word, is because that's exactly what it is. That's. But also. I think that's how you do it. Fuck, you suck.
You didn't.
So, I also did a fucking, what do you call it? Ignorant white person thing, I guess, that I sometimes either get called out for doing, and I will react by being corrected. But I was like, oh, why call it genocide or systematic genocide? Why didn't you just call it genocide? And I was trying to say it like for what I thought was a positive way of framing it, but there's a big difference between systematic and just like genocide. Genocide happens all at once. Systematic they made it so that it'll keep reoccurring. It's mathematical. It's the Pavlov theory, whatever. It's dog training. Fucking, that's why Cesar Millan's the dog whisperer, and a 100% accuracy rate because it's a scientist. It's mathematics. Like as long as you stick to the formula, you can't go wrong. And that's how they made it, but for genocide. Okay, just wanted to point that out.
Hey, I'm Dennis Ward, and this is Face to Face. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward, and this is Face to Face.
Make a mess.
Our guest this week is an advocate for all things Indigenous, whether it's food security or voting rights. Tanya Cameron is not only pointing out the inequalities, she's working to address them.
Thank you.
Most recently, Tanya has been organizing for Bearskin Lake First Nation, while the community has been dealing with a pandemic state of emergency. Tanya, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for inviting me.
Bearskin Lake First Nation, a community of about 400 people,
I'm making
600
a
kilometers
huge
north of Thunder Bay, declared a state of emergency in late December. At one point, more than half of the community had contacted COVID-19. What made you feel like you wanted to help?
Well, at the time that the outbreak had started in Bearskin Lake, in my own family, in my own household, my kids came back from school and one of them was notified of a contact. And sure enough, on Christmas Day, we got the word that my son was tested positive for COVID. So we were in immediate lockdown. I posted on my social media. Immediately, I had offers from friends and family to bring supplies, groceries, food, whatever I needed to the home. I didn't need it, but I was grateful for it. At that same time, I'm watching social media and I see what was happening in Bearskin Lake, where they had just a handful, then overnight it was in the 30s. And I quickly realized it was an outbreak. The chief and council with their health services later declared it.
Got all your task force for COVID. They were really great.
From families in Bearskin Lake putting their needs
Guys scared the
on
shit out of
their
me.
social
Came to the
media
store
page
being
saying
like,
they need
where's
groceries,
your
or
paper
they
supposed to
need
be
firewood.
visible? I was
And
like,
that
oh, I have to shut you
really-
down. And I was like, oh my god.
That
Oh
really
my god.
touched me because here I am
Fucking going through his contacts. Looking for
in
my
isolation, but I have all these available to me, and
You
in
guys
the
like fucking
far
with people.
northern remote communities, it's just not there.
Like,
And
that's how
it
you know
was
you're getting
quickly
fucked up,
becoming a great need in the community. So it was a cry for help that I felt I needed to respond to.
It's a good point. So much different from where you or I are compared to the north. You shared a tweet the other day that somebody was kind of being facetious, showing a bag of sugar for about $22, joking they couldn't even afford to have diabetes. It's a real difference, 600 kilometers north of where you and I are.
Yes, the cost of living is just it's incredible, and I know for families that I can't imagine what the cost would be to raise a family and having the household staples in terms of groceries, that being a huge challenge.
When you started the fundraising campaign, what was your goal at first?
I personally, I was hoping for $4,000 or $5,000. I got permission from chief and council to go ahead and start collecting funds in
I don't know
their
if the
community.
hand
I reached out to Fresh Market Foods in Silicote, and they were quick to partner because they get Nutrition North subsidy to help offset some of the huge shipping costs into the far north. So that was my goal, $4,000 or $5,000. By the end of the first night when I launched it on New Year's Eve, I was at just a little over 11,000.
Where are things at today?
Well, I did my bookkeeping this morning, and I've collected $34,500 in donations through crowdfunding on social media. I also, to add to that, is the Canadian Tire gift cards of $5,000 for supplies. And also a new friend of mine, Rain Harper in Keewaywin First Nation. They sent me, the community sent me $21,570 that Rain funded in her community. So we are at a total raised of $61,133.
Absolutely incredible. Well done. I was going to ask you, can you tell us a bit about Rain Harper from Keewaywin First Nation?
Yeah, so I launched again on New Year's Eve, December 31st. I launched the campaign. She sent me a message saying, I'm sending you a $500 donation. Please add it to your list of donors. And I said, sure, definitely. Thank you so much. And then later that evening, she said, I think I'm going to try to do what you're doing. And I said, great. If you need help, if you want to follow what I'm doing, that by all means, go ahead. And the next day she posted that she raised $1,000, and I was like, "Yay, way to go!" Like,
How the
keep
fuck
going.
did you do
And
that?
that's amazing. And then last
Maybe
week,
you should do
I
that
get an
here since
email
my whole
from
neighborhood is being
the chief,
gentrified.
medical
Obviously,
academic,
especially
and
whoever
he's
in
like,
apartment
"I believe that
19
one of our
is, or
youth
16.
ran her
I'm 19.
Well, she just a
16,
little over
Amazon
$10,000
packages.
in fees.
Stacks of them every day.
And Key Waywood
Like-
administration is
Like,
going to
how
match
do
what
you
she
know this
raised.
is financially
So
sound right now?
that was such an incredible goal that she set in her mind, and just the impact and of her as a young person in her and Key Waywood's a small community. So to raise that kind of money out of that community, I was just really touched by the people in Key Waywood.
Yeah, huge shout out to Rain. Absolutely incredible and heartwarming. What
I was involved in my own First Nations, and we talked about the need for as many community members to be aware of what the plan is in case, in the worst case scenario where the leadership, where the pandemic team, all the staff are, might get sick, and then who can step in to fill in terms of carrying out the pandemic response plan. And again, that was a worst case scenario. And this is exactly what was playing out in Bearskin Lake. Leadership had to isolate, either they contracted COVID or a family member in their household contracted. Staff members, the usual workers in the community, all were in isolation. So they really had to call on able-bodied adult people in their community to step up. Well, those that tested negative to step up and, to help the community for everything, getting food to the doors, checking in on households, checking in on the elders and the ones with little children. What do you need? How can we help you? Chopping wood. Like when you think of 90% of the households there depend on firewood, and their usual guys that they contract to do that kind of work were down.
Fantastic idea, and I cannot wait
just
to never have to do a type of that ever again.
And
Because
that's why one of
they
my big goals is I want to get
are
a really good log splitter into the community. So I asked my brother-in-law, Leslie,
Never
who was
mind.
a former chief in Wabascang, like, what do you recommend? He's like, well, we have this, and it was a real workhorse. It's a lot of money though, and it was like he said, it was about 2,000, and sure enough, I put that goal on social media. I want to send this, and even if it costs me $1,000 to send up north, I need to send this up there. So people heard, people responded, and we were able to get the big high quality log splitter into the community. I just got a picture from someone in the community that they're using it today. Like, they're so grateful for it, and it's a game changer.
I think we've all seen the photos, so many people had to come together to make this all possible. And we saw those photos of the skidoos all heading in. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so, and this is something that I saw on social media. One of my social media friends, John
that's what I should be
Cutfeed
doing
on
with
Twitter,
the-
he was part of that Snow Machine caravan out, took up supplies.
Just give me a place to live. I don't want things. Just
the
give
families
me,
put out a call
give me
for help.
somewhere to sleep.
It was immediate, in the Indigenous
And I'll
communities.
spend the
and some
day
of the
just
towns
chopping
here
logs. That's
in the
basically
Northwest
what
Ontario.
I am doing
We knew
now,
immediately that
and
we
have
had to
basically always been
We
trying
also
to
knew
do
that
with
they
my
were calling
fucking
on the
life
federal government
in
to send in
general.
help.
Like, I don't give a
Um,
shit about going on vacation.
But
I
it
don't
wasn't
give a shit
immediate
about buying
for some of us that
fucking
were sitting
phones or
behind
cars
our
or
screens and
whatever.
watching
Like,
this all unfold.
I can walk
So
my ass
the
places.
response
I don't care.
by people in Muskrat Dam to send firewood, to send people to go split the wood for the homes.
Pretty good.
And these people that ventured to Bearskin, they all have families. They all know that they have to keep a safe distance and do what they can for their neighboring First Nation, because they have to protect their own families. They have to protect their own communities as well. So I was really emotional during that whole time. And I know part of it's because my son had COVID and we were living in isolation. But I also knew when I saw moms post what they needed and how stressful it was, I really felt that. when Saul Nanakwa, he's the MPP for Keewaydinum, he invited, he did a live with Darlene Beardy, one of the moms that were in isolation with the baby in the home, and they all tested positive. That really sealed the deal for me in terms of I'm going to do what I can. I heard the emotion in her voice, the real need and the fear. And I thought, well, I can't do a lot. I can't go up there, but I could use my social media. I could let people know that they need help and hope that people will send me a few dollars to support Bearskin Lake.
Well, absolutely amazing, Tanya. We're going to talk a bit more about that and why some people refer to you as the potato lady. We just have to step aside for a quick break, and then we'll continue the conversation here on Face to Face with Tanya Cameron. Stick around. Welcome back to Face. Our guest this week is Tanya Cameron, and we've been talking about her fundraising efforts for Bearskin Lake First Nation, where more than half the community had tested positive for COVID-19 just after Christmas. And Tanya, tens of thousands of dollars, as you say, was raised. Can you tell us who were some of the people donating? And I also understand there was a rather famous person who reached out with a donation as well.
Yeah, so a lot of the people that were essentially strangers and new friends now on Facebook and Twitter. And so that a lot of these people, I don't know, we have about 310 donors, the 34,000, in total of the 61,000. So it's, I don't know a lot of these people. One of the counselors in Bearskin Lake launched a GoFundMe, and we've been sharing that on Twitter. And one evening, Sharon Anshkina tweeted that Ryan Reynolds liked her tweet for the GoFundMe fundraising campaign. And then sure enough, on the GoFundMe page, there was a $5,000 donation from Deadpool Guy.
I guess I don't know if you confirmed that it's him, but I don't know how many other Ryan Reynolds might be able to just drop a $5,000 donation.
I hope so.
We know that it's a verified like on Twitter, so we firmly believe that this is the man that sent
so
that $5,000 donation.
Amazing. Before the break, we also mentioned that some have referred to you as the potato lady. Can you tell us a bit about how you became known as that?
Yeah, it's funny. I was out shopping for Bearskin Lake at one of the stores here in Kenora, and when I gave the clerk my status card for the tax exemption, she looked at my card and she's like, "Oh, you're the potato lady."
What?
So I laughed because I don't know if I'll ever live that name down. But at the start of the pandemic, it was quite clear, well, here in Kenora, how sensitive the food system was, and we had a lot of bare shelves in our grocery stores. So that was quite alarming. And when I was scrolling my social media, I was on the marketplace, and I saw that there was a farm selling potatoes just outside of Winnipeg. And I thought, well, that's 2 hour
so
drive.
fucking
and
hilarious.
It was $15 for a 50-pound bag. And I thought that was a great deal.
That is a great
And of
deal.
course, me being me, I posted, "Hey, is there anyone here in Kenora that wants to get in on this deal? I'm going in with my truck. I'm going to grab a few bags."
That's
I did not anticipate the amount of people sending me $15 to grab them a bag. I believe we left Kenora and with 2 vehicles, a trailer, and 2 First Nations showed up with their trucks, and we brought out 7,200 pounds of potatoes. And that's where it started. The next potato run was something around 13,000. In the end, I ended up doing 6 potato runs into Northwestern Ontario, and that total was 185,000 pounds of potatoes in 6 potato runs. So the equivalent of 6 semi-truckloads. And that went to all the towns in Northwestern Ontario and over 30 First Nations. So that was quite the experience that I totally didn't anticipate would grow to.
Another awesome effort. These efforts, Tanya, have come during this pandemic, which has hit many First Nations hard. What does it say to you that fundraisers like this are to help during this time?
Yeah, so with the pandemic, there were a lot of people laid off, a lot of people that seen their wage gone or significantly lower. And when I did the potatoes, it wasn't just First Nations people reaching out for it. There were a lot of non-Indigenous people in the towns reaching out to me to get this deal. And some of them would start to tell me, they got laid off, that they're really struggling. And I would say, you know what, there's no need to tell me your story if you don't want to share. One woman wrote that she's so embarrassed to ask. And I said, you just tell me you need potatoes and you're going to get a bag of potatoes. Because for everyone that was reaching out to get in on the deal, there were a lot more people on my social media stepping up to say, I'm going to sponsor 10 bags, or I'm going, some people were setting $500.
That's a lot of potatoes.
Bags to families and elders in the communities. It was just an incredible wave of generosity of people that knew to lend a hand where help was needed. And that really spoke to the feeling of community that we need to take care of each other as much as we to help us go through the pandemic with the financial resources. We also rely on each other as neighbors and as a caring community to say, well, let's do this together. And it was just a really beautiful thing that I had not intended and had no idea it would grow to be that way. And we also helped 3 farms. So I started off with 1 farm. It caught the attention of a national media outlet. And after that came out, I had 2 other farms in Manitoba reach out to say, can you help us? We have this whole storehouse. We have no market. Our usual market is on lockdown, and they needed help. And so they weren't giving the potatoes for free, but they were giving just an amazing price. So we helped the farms, and the farms helped us. And that really, really was a beautiful thing.
Well, I'm sure thousands of people are grateful to have you as one of their neighbors. Tanya, there was another fundraiser you did, this one for menstrual products. We often hear about the need for these drives in Newton or far north places. This one
I saw a commercial where they're
like,
what's better to insert a tampon than with your finger? I was like, what? What?
Talk about that fundraiser.
They're like, yeah, no more applicators.
So last fall, the Ontario government announced a partnership with Shoppers Drug Mart.
And also what?
To give free menstrual products to Ontario students. And I thought that was wonderful news because that could be a barrier to any student that is in need of such products. That could be a barrier to their education. So I immediately said, well, I hope this includes First Nations schools because, the need exists whether you live on reserve or not. Saul Lemaquat and the MPP and here in Ontario, he asked the question in the legislature and we quickly learned that no First Nations on reserve students were exempt from this free menstrual products. I was really disappointed. And I really stewed on it for a few days and had conversations with some people who said, can you just launch this drive? And I thought, okay, let's see what we can do. And I put it out again on my social media and I was just bombarded with people right across the fence and in the country, sending products, sending money so we can buy products. Again, I partnered with Fresh Market Foods again and say, I'm receiving all this money. I'm going to send it to you for the products. And again, they use their federal subsidy to help with the shipping costs into the far north communities. It's just responding where there's a doubt, where the provincial government, the provincial government,
because they're not going to do it.
And so many others reached out and sent in. I was all through November, December, receiving shipments into my mailbox.
Oh my god, every time you
natural
ask for
products
something,
right across the
there's a
country.
fucking catch to it. Every time.
Again, just another.
And they have to get it thrown in their face
Tanya, we
over
just
and
have
over
to
and
step
over
aside
for everything.
Another quick break, and then we'll continue the conversation here on Face to Face with superhero Ken Cameron. Stick around.
I hate this whole fucking weird generation of but you did.
Back to Face to Face.
Oh yeah, you did.
Tanya
It's like
Cameron. And Tanya, you seem like a
everything,
natural
grown ass
born
fucking adult.
advocate. What fuels your passion for this work?
I've been fortunate enough to amazing work here in Northwestern Ontario with different Indigenous organizations. And it sounds corny, but I really do have a heart for our Indigenous communities.
Why isn't she part of the? Why isn't she the commissioner for federal affairs? That's my question.
It's been done, and I wish our in our First Nations communities and our Indigenous organizations. I'm just committed to our communities.
This is
during
the pandemic, but you've been doing this work for a great majority of your life.
Because you don't have a choice or you die.
I've been introduced to this kind of work since I was
not
a
funny,
teenager.
but
I had the support
shit.
of a very good parents, of mom and dad, who, we discussed different current events and certainly discussed different things happening in the community. So they always supported me when I wanted to do things in my community, and I carried that through to my present life now. And I hope I'm passing it on to my children as well, because my kids and my husband lifted potatoes doing that since March 2020.
That's cool.
Well, and I think as we saw with Rain there, you're passing this on to a whole new generation as well.
Yes, it's so important. It's the power that we have in ourselves, and I learned at a young age at a youth conference actually. Some woman said, don't ever sit back in your community and think, oh, someone should be doing this, someone should be doing that. Sit back and say, could I do this? Could that be something I can do? And I do that. I practice that right from the heart. So I'm always glad to help.
Well, you absolutely do. That's a fantastic way to end the show. Kenya, thanks so much for all this work that you do and for being with us on the show. We're grateful to have you here with us.
Shit.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for this week. You can catch up on any episodes you may have missed by visiting our website, kptnnews.ca. This episode and all of our past episodes as well are also available as podcasts. You can find those
Why are you being a slut?
kptnnews.ca/face-to-face podcast. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for being with us this week.
You're welcome,
Have a
Dennis.
great night. We'll see you
You
back
too.
here next
No, wrong one. Oh my god, please, for whatever you do not get a cert. Don't get anything Microsoft. Fucking Dell and fucking, what do you call it? Oh, what's Alienware? Apparently they're teaming up. I forgot.
Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward, and this is Face to Face.
Okay.
Our guest this week is Cindy Blackstock, the Executive Director of the First Nations Child and Family Caring Society of Canada. Cindy has been the face of the fight against the federal government in an effort to ensure First Nations children received equitable treatment. A human rights complaint over racist underfunding of child welfare services on reserve was filed in 2007. In January of 2022, a $40 billion agreement in principle was announced.
Cindy, thanks so much for being with us. An absolute pleasure to welcome you back to the show.
Good morning, fucking
Well, $40 billion, two agreements in principle. It's said to be the largest settlement in Canadian history. What were your thoughts when this deal was coming to light?
Fucking nothing.
Well, I really thought about all those people who have struggled
Sue
before
can
I
fucking-
ever arrived on the scene
fucking get
to
the
really
government
plead
check
for
like it's nobody's
equitable
business for
treatment of
such
First
shit.
Nations kids. And I'm so humbled by all of those who have joined, including the Canadian public, particularly in the last few weeks, so that we can actually
ex-husband,
force
that's another
Canada
fucking-
to comply with over
another
20
check.
legal orders to end its
Canada,
discrimination
fucking
towards
good
First Nations
gigs, fucking.
But the work isn't
Obviously,
done
not
yet.
supposed to keep stuff
This
that you
is a
find on the
non-binding
plane when
agreement,
you're cleaning
and
it.
we've
Because
seen
guess
how
what? The
governments
Rouge
love
girls are
symbols,
obviously the ones
to
not
kind of
cleaning
make
the plane.
themselves look good, and then they fail to implement. Implementation is going to be really key for children and young people and their families.
And Cindy, we'll get
So
to
easy,
that
so
implementation,
childish.
but first a little maybe on why has it taken this long? 15 years.
You know, it even goes back further than that, right? When we first documented the shortfalls in First Nations child welfare, that was in 2000. It was 70 cents on the
Not
dollar.
even-
The federal government
I take
agreed
the
with
shit
it,
out.
and never did anything about it. You know, the question you're asking is the $1 million question that we need to answer, which is why didn't the government act on the underfunding when it knew it existed and knew it was driving kids into child welfare care at record rates? Well,
fucking
one of the
how
issues
bad it
is
is, like-
that the federal government, I think, really has a colonial DNA running through its system that stops it from doing better when it knows better.
Well, and you say the $1 million question, but it's really
Fucking-
tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars.
The winery gets fucking raided and shut down, and you take away the guy's fucking livelihood, and then you fucking throw an SAQ in across the street. Like,
millions of dollars to
fuck,
solve
man.
the problem.
That's some
back in
balls.
2000.
Like, that
And
fucking
the key
privilege
here is
is
that
fucking
First
real.
Nations children, young
I'm,
people,
like,
and their
honestly.
families would have not suffered in the way that they did.
And you guys fucking accuse them
Children
of being
would have
alcoholics.
most likely not
Like,
lost their lives.
you guys are
But
the ones who
Canadian
put it in their
government
fucking
decided to
hands
stall,
constantly.
to kick this thing downstream. And in that way, we had all
gonna
these
fucking
harms building up for kids.
talk about
And that
safe
led to the compensation
gambling.
order, which is half of
People
this
with gambling
amount, $20
addictions that
billion.
you're showing me
But
a
also the
fucking
harms
gambling
themselves for
advertisement,
families
like,
deepened
and it's like
in a
every
way
10
that
fucking minutes.
hundreds of millions of dollars could no longer fix. And that's why we're looking at $20 billion over at least the next 5 years as a starting point.
You mentioned the harms. What has been lost? What have been the harms over this past 15, 22 or more years?
You know, I think about families like Zach Trout, who was a
No,
loving
because now you're
father
drinking and not
along with his
smoking,
wife, a
and-
loving mom. And they
All you
had
need
2 children that were in palliative care. They couldn't get their basic necessities for their children. Like Canada was putting caps on the number of feeding tubes they could have.
What?
Like, what do you do? Like, you have to choose to rewash the feeding tube and maybe risk infection to your child or not feed your child at all. I think about Jordan River Anderson, never seeing the outside of the hospital because the government of Canada wanted to cheap out and save money and try to get Manitoba to pick up the cost. And the government of Manitoba never stepped up to the plate.
Yeah, because that's all
I
this
think
is,
about young
finger
people like
pointing, like
Tina Fontaine.
fucking.
I mean, she was not, and her family weren't given the supports that they should have received when she was
Get it
younger.
done.
I think
Why
about
they do everything
a lot
themselves?
of the families who grew up separately from their children because the government of Canada did not think they were worth the money. I feel so sad that we weren't able to get the job done 20 years ago. I really wish the federal government would have paid attention then, and then a lot of these harms may
They're
not
the
have
ones
happened,
doing
or
it, lady.
At least we would have had a shot at preventing them.
Cindy, what do you think
There's
has
such
changed?
bunch of
I guess coming
Catholic
from the
fucking
government side of things here, what
rape
has
pieces of fucking
what's potentially
garbage.
ended this lengthy battle?
Well, a lot of folks know we all collectively won the victory for children back in 2016 when the Canadian government was found to be discriminating. And they marched out ministers who welcomed the decision, then they didn't comply. So we were at 21 non-compliance orders as of fall. And some of your viewers will remember the Prime Minister even saying that they weren't fighting First Nations kids in court.
Yeah.
At the same time, when we were
I do.
waiting for a federal court judgment on compensation, as well as a decision on whether First Nations kids off reserve would get access to Jordan's Principle. Well, those decisions came on September 29th, and the court totally dismissed all of Canada's arguments.
Yeah, but
that
it
was
was
a big thing. That was
for-
kind of a death knell on
Okay,
their
wait,
really
wait.
flawed litigation strategy.
Because they just keep showing this advertisement. If you didn't live on a reserve, you can collect. That's not where the issue is, though, because majority of these atrocities happen to people who were in basically a boarding school, meaning they lived there. Like, I don't know. Is KSS still open? I know fucking it. I'm probably thinking of like Queen of Angels that closed. But like KSS Ganawagi Survival School, isn't it? Like anyway.
And then on top of that, we have to thank the spirits of the children in the unmarked graves, awakening Canadians in a way that really
So much, like they said that they couldn't find them, and now I'm thinking because that lady was saying before that they were in the walls.
To buy the government's descriptor of the dark chapter stuff. You know, like everything happened in the past. Don't worry about what's happening right now. I found Canadians are more curious about what's going on now, and they were asking their members of parliament, why is it that you're in court against First Nations kids? They say you're underfunding. Is that really true? Because the Auditor General said that was true in 2008. Is that still going on? That kind of public pressure, along with those legal things, I think that put the government in a position where it needed to change its conduct.
Very good point. You mentioned the 20 plus times that they haven't followed up on this like they were told to. This again is a non-binding agreement that still needs to be ratified. And you said when the deal was announced that nothing changes in the lives of First Nations children today. You said for now these are simply words on paper. What could still go wrong here, do you think?
Well, the government could not implement it or fail in the implementation, water it down. And the good news for that is that we have check systems in the court. We will hopefully have a system in place to hold the government accountable even after the tribunal is no longer having jurisdiction of this case, whenever that happens. So we do have these safeguards in place, Dennis.
They need money.
I think
That's the bottom line. If they
the
need
government doesn't
money,
always
you
honor
need to
its
give them
agreements.
what
And
you
I
owe
want
them.
to make sure that they do honor these agreements, that they provide, for example, on April 1st, prevention
Like, why are we even
services to
debating
First
on
Nations,
these fucking
communities in the amount of
You know what?
$2,500
Okay.
per person on reserve, acknowledging that this multi-generational trauma is really community-wide. The other piece that we need to see is supports for young people who are aging out of care or who are young adults and have
and be like,
they
well,
will be
nobody's
able to
word
access support
zoomed
up
yet.
until they're
It's like,
age 26.
go fuck yourself.
That's what the government is promising. That'll be our first indication as to whether they're really serious.
We had Minister Patty Hajdu on the day of the announcement, who only wanted to focus on the good things here. And so let's
Great.
say if
Yeah, what a
everything
good
were
thing.
to go right, how would things play out? Can you kind of explain what these agreements mean? Both are worth $20 billion, and maybe people get caught up in that. But can you kind of walk us through the agreements?
Oh,
Right.
fuck,
So first, the
someone's having a good day.
compensation piece is actually
Because
signed
I fucking
between the
looked at
Class
for
Action
Trudeau's,
Council in
what
Canada.
is it?
The Caring Society
Surfing
hasn't
vacation?
signed that agreement.
Just
And
like it
we're
slipped
not
his mind
sure, as I said,
on
how
Reconciliation
that
Day,
20
whatever.
billion is going to be distributed. What we have said, though,
Fucking
is that a
shit,
certain
man.
group of these folks are already entitled to $40,000 from the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal. So that has to be a floor. So over this next period of months, they will be working on what's called a final agreement, which will spell out who is going to get how much, and also what are some of the supports that are going to be necessary for this money to flow out. Keep in mind, Dennis, a lot of these recipients are still children. So it's very, very different in many ways. We have to take account of the fact that these are sometimes young children,
The
sometimes
elderly are
teenagers,
literally in the
and sometimes
hospital.
young adults in
Like,
vulnerable
that's where they
situations. That agreement then gets put to the federal court. Everyone gets to have their say. And if the federal court agrees with it, that's when it becomes final and the monies will then be paid. That's a compensation piece. For me, the piece that I'm most involved with is actually stopping the ongoing discrimination. One heartwarming thing the government did do in the fall was actually admit that the discrimination is ongoing. In the past, it was always like, oh, well, no, we're not discriminating, we're doing all this good stuff for kids.
Well done.
Finally, they
Progress. Fuck.
are.
Yay.
We need to stop that discrimination.
That's good
prevention
news. That is
and
good news,
post-majority
isn't it?
care is the first step in doing that. But we need to have a holistic agreement and the involvement of communities in themselves to make sure that we land that end of the discrimination. And then the third piece we need to do is fix the department itself. The department itself is a repeat offender when it comes to First Nations kids.
Yeah.
First with residential schools, then the 60s scoop, now this. We need to make sure that we reform this place so that it never hurts another generation of kids. That long-term reform of child and family, Jordan's principle, along with fixing the department, has to all go to the tribunal. So, because the tribunal has the mandate to be able to say that, okay, the government has now satisfied our orders, and we agree with these reforms on an ongoing basis as part of a legal order to prevent Canada from doing it again. That needs to happen over the next year or so.
Wow, Cindy, that sounds like a lot of work still ahead. Much more
it
for us to
doesn't.
talk about here.
It sounds
but,
like
we just have to step aside for a quick break.
people who are
and then
already
we'll
fucking
continue the
apparently
conversation
paid
here
to
on Face to Face with Cindy
be
Blackstock.
sitting in a room together. Sitting in a room together with a piece of paper. What's our budget?
Will you help
That's
deliver
about it.
life-saving relief this winter to escape war
And then you write them a
many
check.
refugees leave
And you go,
every
here you
day?
go, from the fucking
Even
government
coats
of
and
Canada
boots.
for the things that we
They're
did wrong.
unprepared for the harsh winter weather.
So that you guys can get your shit back together. Like,
Welcome back to Face to Face. Our guest this week is Cindy Blackstock.
it's really, I don't know what the fucking last bitch is talking about. Like, this one makes a lot more sense.
And we've been
Fucking
discussing
other lady, that other lady has fucking,
Good evening,
I don't
Chris
understand.
Ward, and this is Face to Face.
She's like the commissioner of fucking Indigenous Affairs, whatever. So she's the one who makes decisions, like fucking for their cultural, historical places and shit. Like that lady was fucking the lady who's in charge of all that shit. Like, and she's just like, well, we do fucking graduation ceremonies.
Our guest this week is Cindy Blackstock.
And it's hard work. It's hard work. We just got back from vacation.
And we've been discussing the recent announcement of the $40 billion to
put her there? I would like to know.
children. Cindy, when we had you on the show 5 years ago, there were
This
roughly
lady I like, though.
160,000 kids who were believed to be impacted. That number is now estimated to be over 200,000. What does that huge increase say to you over a 5-year period?
Well, what we're looking at there are the figure of the 200,000 roughly. That's the number of people who are hurt by Canada's discrimination for the purposes of compensation. When we use the number about 165,000, those are the number of kids and families that are touched by the current system. Those are the group that we have to stop this discrimination for and prevent it from happening again. So there's those two pools. And to put this really in context, Dennis, when we did
I guess that is important, but I think
with
maybe
experts, just for the period of the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal compensation, which is 2006, up until the last year we had data for, which is 2019, we were talking about 60,000 young people and children who were removed from their families because the government of Canada didn't fund the services that they ought to have had. You know, I grew up in Prince George, BC, was one of the places I lived, a town in northern BC. You know, that would be every child and more taken out of that city and removed from their families. Like the scale of the harm that Canada did cannot be understated.
No, and I think our viewers here are well aware of what's happening with this so-called child welfare system. Cindy, do you think about what could have been done with $40 billion to support families rather than removing children from their homes?
Yeah, back in 1998,
Wow.
Dennis, we knew
Let
what
me
was
tell you.
driving the overrepresentation of First Nations kids in care, even back in 1998. So we knew it was poverty, we knew it was poor housing, we knew it was substance abuse related to multi-generational trauma from residential schools and domestic violence. Those same things remain true today. So when we see this prevention money going out the door, we need to really optimize the benefits of it by really targeting those issues. that is really going to be
Right
key
type of
to enhancing
rehabilitation,
well-being,
but without the
and
fucking
then
religious
also over the
bullshit.
longer term reducing the number of kids in
Literally
care.
puts you in a
You know, one of the things I don't think is
I'm glad they
necessarily
changed
a
it from the
fair
steps
critique
to the
is to
circle,
say
because
that the
that's
child
basically what
welfare
it is. It's
system
the
itself
circle.
is totally responsible for all this.
Never
It-
ending
it
circle.
isn't. It's a symptom, if you like, of all of these
then people
inequalities
who
and
even beat that
traumas that have been
circle,
piled on to
who
First
do
Nations
get clean,
families. We find, for
makes the
example, if
government's
you're
gonna
looking
come
at
in and
juvenile
fucking fuck that
justice,
shit
it's
up
those
right
same
on, fucking
reasons
all
that are
over
pulling
again.
so many young
Like,
people into juvenile justice, or for mental health concerns. That's why it's so important that we get at the causes of this issue.
What type of reforms, we're talking about billions of dollars for reforms here. What type of reforms do you think should be in place or looked at?
Well, number one, we need to deal with those drivers of the child welfare system. Those are key. The second we need to look at is supports for young people who are in care and those who are out of care. So that post-majority will help with that. But we need to go further for young people who are in care right now and for their families to provide supports to see if we can address the risks that result in that young person going into care so that they can safely return.
Or lack
The third
thereof.
kind of element we really need to get involved here
Tony
is
Reed and
support communities
Kane
for family
and Xavier
reunification programs.
Trombley
Dennis, we've got
used
tens
to
of
sing from
thousands
the
of
window
kids
to the
who've
wall
been
and point at me and Tina.
and we need to have supports in place both for the community and for those young people.
What is-
so that
what
they
is
can
this
reconnect in safe and healthy
fucking
ways for
black
one another.
magic?
The fourth thing I'd like to see is real funding in obligations for C92. Right now, you can draw down First Nations jurisdiction, but the federal government takes
Okay,
the
you know what?
position that all the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal orders are outside of C92.
Yeah,
So it's offering up a different funding package, and I'm
shit in
really
there.
worried that that funding package is a discriminatory
Good
funding
hosting.
package that's being held out
Sorry.
there. So you're left in a weird place where you accept jurisdiction without funding to service your members on and off
And this is
reserve
never a problem.
in an adequate way, or
Like,
you
it's
can
always
stay
just like, ha,
because the
ha, ha,
federal
ha,
government
gross,
limits
man.
the CHRT
I
to
know
provincial
exactly
jurisdiction.
that,
You can
but
stay
now
under
I
provincial
can't actually
jurisdiction
have
and get
enough.
more resources. That seems like a catch-22 that's not necessary.
Because apparently there's some miscommunication at some point when shit gets awkward and uncomfortable. I go, yeah, I'm not down for that. And they go, oh, okay, yeah. And then they do it again.
By child welfare agencies. Do you know much about that action? I feel like
This
that
was
could
never
be,
a problem with me
just as
before.
many people.
I had many male friends.
Maybe more.
Yeah,
Because I
it's
don't
likely
get
more,
along
Dennis,
well with
but we know
females.
from the most recent cycle of the
They do
Canadian
things
Recent study is that 72% of First Nations kids are placed
How to
off
fuck with
reserve.
people. And
So
my brain
it
doesn't
is a
work that way. I
large
really
number.
wish it did. Really, I
That
do.
class action is just getting underway. I would like to foresee.
I wish I'm
succeed.
envious
I think
of
the
these fucking
province
women
has
who are just
really
like coming
not
up
stepped up to
step
the
one,
plate
fuck
and to
people's
provide
lives.
the kind of
Like, I
equitable
wish my brain fucking
culturally-based
worked that way.
supports to
That's
get at those
genius.
drivers we're
Terrible,
talking
but
about
genius.
in a manner that
And I
they
tried,
should
I
have.
can't.
They've
I'm
been
not part of the
basically
back
through the
of
whole
the
Canadian Human Rights Tribunal, just kind of leaning back on the couch and
I'm
watching
a
things
big
play out.
mouth that cannot back it up.
Instead of really stepping
well
up
aware of that.
in partnership with First Nations to really remedy some
My
of the
teeth
harms
cost
that are happening
money.
to kids off reserve.
Too much money.
So many
I
lawsuits
would like
with
to
millions
save
and billions
face
going on. I mean,
for
here in
one
Manitoba,
pink
they're
head
the First
to a point
Nations
where
are
they
trying
were
to get back
popping out of my
close to 100
gums.
million. I think that the
Fucking European
province
inbred.
is skimming off for themselves. There's all this going on,
Too many
but
fucking goddamn teeth.
when you hear, think of the kids. What do you think with all these lawsuits and all of this when really we're just trying to give kids a better life?
A young person that was involved in our campaigns, that we involve all kinds of children from all kinds of diversities to learn about the inequalities and help address them. They said to me, discrimination is when the guys are worth the money. And I've always asked people who do this kind of shell game, political shell game, what would it feel like if your kids weren't worth it? And what would it feel like to be a child who is being treated as if they weren't worth the money by the government of Canada? Well, we know in far too many cases what that actually looks like. Because the First Nations child doesn't know that the federal government and the provincial government are playing these kinds of games that are denying them the opportunities to grow up and healthy and proud. They just know that life's a lot harder for them than it is for other kids. And so they do what kids will naturally do, which is they take it inside. They start to believe that they're not good enough, that they're not smart enough. And then we see these terrible rates of suicide in our communities. That is the reality of this kind of political showmanship. And that's why we really need to tame politics when it comes to kids. We really need to meet the needs of the children. We need to be honest with them. We need to keep our promises to them. And we need to support their families in meeting their needs. All of that stuff has to happen, and politics needs to stay out of it as much as possible.
Great point, Cindy. We do have to just step aside for another quick break, but we'll be continuing the conversation here on Face to Face with Cindy Blackstock.
I didn't know what side of the hand, if that was relevant. So I did both sides. Can you shut up with your fucking bank shit? Sorry.
Shoot.
I need to nail this into the wall.
What, into the wall?
Because we still don't have any screws. I keep finding them, I keep moving them.
What are you putting into the wall though?
This thing. So I can hang up my guitar. But like I was gonna hang it up there, but I'd rather slide this into the corner.
Yeah. I mean, like, you're not gonna have this open when you want to open the door, anyways, right?
Right. But like, I also don't want to fucking. I was gonna put it up there in the corner, but like, I also don't want the door to slam into them and they both fall off the wall. So I would rather slide that down so the door can't even hit it.
This is garbage now, eh?
It's not.
No.
Why would it be garbage?
Well, I mean, it's not like garbage, but
I'd rather that than the fucking boxes. Like,
Yeah.
I've eliminated all those fucking boxes with the fucking stupid garbage bags in them.
because these you can make them smaller.
So I was gonna, like, literally just, like, put it right there. For now. Because it's just meant to fucking... Anyway. Yes! What can I do for you? Mr. Magoo! Like, I had treats. Where did this bag of treats? Where? If you're in the fucking way.
Do
Here. Sit. I need to get you more of these too. Shade. Said trade.
Trade what, spaces?
Not you. The dog. That's how we do in this fucking apartment.
Oh.
Literally, you have to just be like, trade, and you
Yes, it's
shimmy, shimmy. Because that's how we have to maneuver in this fucking shithole.
Yep. It's so small.
It didn't used to be this small.
It's time. What? I'm gonna say why, but yeah.
And it's mostly because fucking we've never had to really be this like considerate of our neighbors. Like before, it was kind of like nobody gave a shit. There was that bitchy girl that threw dog shit in the back of the cab.
Yeah, like what the
But
fuck
she
was
fucking
that? I
also
didn't
got
do anything.
cockroaches in the building.
Like, I didn't do anything.
Yeah, but like fucking, she also like they fucking had like at least 3 people fucking living there, like all roommates, and those are the people that like I think it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was sitting outside by myself, like having a cigarette, like at the end of the steps, and I was just like standing there, or I was sitting there by myself. I was gonna finish and go in, and they came out, and her and her friends were like drunk and shit, and they were gonna walk up the street, and they stopped, and they did that thing where they stand up, like obnoxiously close to me. And they were just being drunk assholes, because I look weird and I'm English, and they were just being obnoxious. And I was like, "Can you go the fuck away, please? Like, why are you coming and bothering me?"
Uh-huh.
And they were like, "Oh, fucking chill, like, fucking." I was like, "Yeah, go away, like, you're fucking annoying me." Like, I'm sitting out here by myself, just like fucking listening to my music, whatever. And you're just being dicks, and that's why I think she threw the bag of dog shit in the back of your cab.
Fucking whore.
Yeah, but like, why are you being an asshole? Go away. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't do nothing. Nice braid.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I don't really know how to do braids. I don't braid my hair. And you know what? That little like. I do this to myself. Oh, wait, wait after work. Looks like this because it's like a 3-inch fucking cord, which is not helpful. And now I just dropped the other one. Yeah, everything's low battery all the fucking time, I know. I have a lamp, you're in the way. Go figure, the neighborhood gets fucking gentrified with all rich fucking cunts. And fucking daddy fixes all their fucking problems for them. And the fucking neighborhood goes to shit. Friend is fucking unbelievable. Used to be a fucking one corner dealer. Fucking tries to stare you down and you're shot right. Well, you don't take too kindly to stare downs. That's what we were raised on. You break eye contact first, you're a bitch. So I moved here because I was like, I'm done with that shit. Fucking grown ass men, like middle-aged men who are like, fuck you looking at? I'm like, I'm just literally walking and looking at my surroundings and we just happen to make eye contact. I'm sorry. And that's why I moved here. And should have fucking moved to the West Island. Because even if they are English here, they're really, really awful to each other. Just in general. They're awful to people who are different races, different religions, different language. You can be the same color. You can even learn their language. And they're still shit to, like, their own fucking people, dude. So, I'm gonna go ahead and figure out what the other fucking people are doing. The ones who try not to get up in everybody's business all the time. And just want to help out their neighbor and not by just throwing money at shit and being like, I helped. I don't eat, okay. You didn't answer me though. Was there any? Oh, I need dog treats. Is there anything else we needed? Essentially, I got toilet paper, bath paper towel. Yeah, but I don't think Chico's is gonna be open. Yeah, but you have to get the one from Chico's. Because they were doing much better on that one. Oh, sorry, Jack. I'll come back. What? You get the fuck out the way. Move it. Oh. Look. This. Watch, you're not gonna eat it because I know you. Yeah. Okay. You get the fuck out. Go. Eat. I will beat you. Where's my towel? I am literally so sorry. This here. In the window. Ah. In the car. Just keep the police. Eat your food. Man, why are you dumb? I don't know. He's going to my pot. Okay. Sorry. Oh. I know I have screws somewhere. I got a screw. Because I can't put the TV on and focus at the same time. I literally have 3 attention span goldfish. This one's big burger. Yeah, you can put it in the car. Me. Why are you so good for it? That is too tiny of a screw. That was an itty bitty screw. That is a racing heart. That is a band-aid. Okay. Oh, look at you finishing your fucking food. How many times has that happened? Are you starving to death? Good job, mister. Okay. Okay. Naval Merkel. Not helpful. Yeah, go ahead. I have been in a couple hours. What is it? 8 o'clock almost? Yeah, so like, I think I was told 10, but you know, that always changes depending on how fucking crazy people want to be. Fine. Don't complain. I'm gonna balance it out. Oh, perfect. Mm. super bad boy freeze. Hey, my Nutella! Go ahead. I don't care. I have another 2 hours to go. Boo-doo. What kind of fucking siren is that? Don't. Shut up, man. Oh, it's just the chat rat in me is so deep. Oh, God. I made it a point when I moved here to not tell people I'm from Chattahoochee. Because I remember when I used to just come here and hang out and meet new people, and they'd be like, oh, well, where are you from? Because it's a common question that is asked in Montreal when you meet someone new. Where are you from? We're in Old Port. I was getting a hand tattoo by I guess, like, Middle Eastern woman. She was, like, in a almost full burqa. But I'm not sure if she had the face covering. She just had the head covering. And she was like, where are you from? Are you from Montreal? I was like, no, I'm from Chattahoochee. She goes, what? And Mom was like, no, we're from Montreal. And I was very confused. I was like, aren't we from, like, Quebec? So that's why they teach us geography and history in French, which is not our language. And that's why there's, like, this whole, like, discussion about if you have French parents or English parents, that'll depend on what school you are or are not allowed to go to. If you have English parents, you have to go, or if you have French parents, so you have to go to French school, or one of your parents is English, you have to go to French school, something like that. The girl who taught me how to actually speak French after 12 years of fucking schooling, of trying to teach me French, Steph from Safari is the one who actually taught me how to speak French. And her boyfriend is a separatist, and me and him are chill. So, I speak fucking English to him, he speaks French to me, and we don't have any fucking problems. Like, I don't really give a shit. Like, as long as you're not being a fucking piece of shit racist, like. I need a shirt, that's why I was putting the shit in. You were like, no. I got pee. You know how many fucking end up breaking my arm again? It's like $5 a day. No kidding. You can't find it. Dollar Store, you can't find fucking Walmart. Oh, I guess they know. I mean, at Walmart, but they're also $5. Or you could buy like a $20 fucking glove. Alright. What? I can't think of it.
nice they had it was. When you go down the first set of stairs, you just keep walking straight and you sit in the house. It's hard at first. I gotta finish this one. Oh, there's another mouse. Oh god, he's got a cannon. He's got a red barrel. Shoot the barrel. Oh no, it's a raw fish. This year's so yeah, I added them already.
Sorry. This shirt feels like a tablecloth. My husband convinced me to keep it and throw it in the garbage. It's like wish I told or some shit. I honestly think I'm gonna care, but I feel like it already. Oh, it would be. Mm-hmm. Ah, fuck. Ah, fuck. Because those don't pockets. These fucking pants never have fucking. Even if they look like they have pockets, sometimes they're just not even real pockets. Because women have purses. Or school bags for the kids. Oh. Ooh, this is why I literally buy little boys' clothes, because women's clothes are fucking stupid and uncomfortable and awkward. Constantly feel like I'm wrapped in saran wrap. I also have to shop in the kids section all the time. Very awkward when mothers fucking call you out. Like, my daughter has the same shoes as you. I'm like, remember in those Tots places? Don't go there. Never fucking felt more scared for my life than being in the Tots place. Okay, that's really what I tried to say. It was terrible. Very terrible. Oh, pockets? Do we have pockets? Yes. Hey, there we go. If there are pockets all the time, but fucking use them.
I think it's that island on the left. Yeah, I think it's that big island on the left. Yeah, it's gotta be where it's going.
Honestly, the best day ever was having one of those cigarette reps just like come into the store with a fucking handful of clothes and she's like, here. I'm like, who are you? Are you God? Are you gonna make me a believer in religion? She's like, clothes. I'm like, are they free? She's like, yeah, do sell the stores and our products. We can bring the clothes with our logo on it. I was like, she's like, now that I know there's a girl here, I'll bring some girl clothes. She's like, these are fine. Girl clothes, guy clothes, don't give a shit. As long as they fit. Oh yeah. That's shitty. Oh, now you're fucking really broken. Why? You gotta be kidding. Like, yeah, now I'm gonna need Dirk to fix it. Because if you need any, like, tech stuff fixed, I got a guy for that. And he's really, really good. That guy should have a fucking business. Sure shiz. Yeah. We can go there for now. Shucks. Yeah. Yeah, fucking Dirk kind of like showed me how to fix the last ball, but I was gonna fucking. Ah, I should ask my dad if he's left over those fucking little chip things. Oh, I can't remember what to call them. Itchy foot. Ah! Okay. Okay, I love them. Okay. I just want to have to put it back in the freezer after. No, you can throw it get counted. Like, it's literally everything. You know where your clothes are. I'm tired. I'm just bossing around.
Oh no! Oh no!
Wait for that. Yeah. Actually, it doesn't look too cold. I'm usually not with that. I guess I'll wait to see my shit. They've got a screw loose. I hope those tomatoes are good. Tomatoes. The pot? No. It's not. You can fucking go ahead, do it all fucking my way. I really I give up. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I'm pissed off as you would, honestly. I have them somewhere. That's a good question. I was just asking myself the same thing. It's fine removing it. Like, you are a winner. You win. The big fucking prize. Get to live amongst the fucking elite pieces of shit that fucking gentrify the neighborhood. Good luck. You have to fucking put wheels on your fucking bar, like on your fucking car wheels, like it's the 90s all day long. Okay. Yeah. Chapeau, doggy. Ah. Suffering. I cannot keep myself up there than y'all. So more happens. Okay. Ah, fucking blood. Oh, why are you nasty? Because it's 12. Oh yeah, I am a winner. I won the big race of all the little sperms. Okay. Don't break my heart. I can break my heart. Oh, that's something good. Little pocket. Little paw. Okay.